The meeting will come to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Buelna, absent. Trustee Henderson, absent. Trustee Hernandez. Trustee Hoffman.
Here.
Trustee Eno.
Here.
Trustee Vella, absent. Trustee Vettis. Student Trustee Bayham.
Present.
Thank you.
Trustee VP Hernandez will lead us in the flag salute today. Thank you. The First Amendment and the Brown Act guarantee a member of the public the right to criticize a public employee or public official in performance of their duties. However, speakers are encouraged to focus on their comments on the issue relevant to the conduct of the public's business rather than on the private or unrelated matters. Speakers are reminded that the Brown Act and First Amendment do not protect defamatory statements made which may be subject to a speaker to be personally liable. Are there any members of the public signed up to address the board, trustees regarding regular agenda items? Yes,
No, ma'am.
Are there no Zoom? Great. So this is a little bit new to our agenda on disclosures. So Chancellor Roman, can you please lead us, lead agenda item C?
Thank you, Madam President. Prior to proceeding to vote on the matters before the board agenda today, the trustees are requested to advise to staff if there are any items on the agenda for which they have received a contribution from a participant in the matter, which requires disclosure and a recusal under the Levine Act or another conflict of interest law. Trustees, when your name is called, please advise if you have any disclosures to make on any items on the agenda, and if so, please identify the agenda item number for each item. Please also state the basis of the conflict by either identifying the donor or of a disqualifying campaign donation or providing information about other disqualifying financial interest. So I'm gonna go down the line here. I don't see Trustee Buelna or Trustee Henderson. Trustee Hernandez, any disclosures?
None.
Thank you. Trustee Eno?
No, none.
Trustee Hoffman?
None.
Trustee Vettis? For the record, Trustee Vella, Trustee Buelna, and Trustee Henderson are not present. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Great. So next item D, the land acknowledgement. The Los Angeles Community College District holds land that originally and still are inhabited by the Gabrielino Tongva Gabrielino Band of Mission Indians, Kitts Nation, and the San Manuel, San Fernando, and San Fernandino Tataviam Band of Mission Indians. We honor and respect their elders and descendants as they continue their stewardship of these lands and waters. Before we proceed, Chancellor Roman, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Board President Eno, for the record, I'd like to pull from the consent agenda, item L1, classified service line, item number 14, and item 2.8 under human resources. In addition, I'd like to correct item L1 to reflect under the academic service total for this report to 799 and total to date 3,997, as well as under classified service, this total report of 320 and total to date 1,846.
Great. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda of order of business with the requested amendments?
So moved.
So moved by Hernandez,
Second.
second by Hoffman. Roll call, please, Lupe.
Trustee Henderson,
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez,
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Trustee Eno,
Yes.
Trustee Vella, absent. Trustee Vettis,
Yes.
Student Trustee Bayham.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Regular board meeting and closed session from February 5th, 2025. May I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the special meeting and regular board meeting and the closed session on February 5th, 2025?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Hernandez, second by Hoffman. Any discussion, colleagues? Roll call, please, Lupe.
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote.
Yes.
Trustee Boulna, absent. Trustee Henderson.
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez.
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Trustee Eno.
Yes.
Trustee Vella, absent. Trustee Vettis.
Yes.
Representative reports. Do any of the resource table folks wish to be recognized at this time to make comments before the board? Thank you.
Good afternoon and happy Women's History Month. I want to start by thanking the board and Chancellor Rahman for supporting our students attending the March in March, which just happened yesterday. Last year, we had about 500 people attend, 12 sponsors, and only one politician spoke. This year, we had nearly 2,000 people attend, 24 sponsors, and 5 politicians addressed the crowd. We are grateful for our partnership with LACCD in support of our students and their futures. I also want to thank the Chancellor for his steady and transparent leadership. During a time when we are under constant attack from an aggressive administration in Washington, it is crucial that we have a Chancellor who understands the LACCD system, puts our students first, and respects labor. He is the right leader at the right time. It is our hope that the interim tag be removed as soon as possible so that he can have the security to lead through the strength of his convictions. That said, we need your help. The disrespect that AFT 1521 is getting from some of your leadership is unacceptable. The unwillingness of HR to do the right thing by our members needs to be addressed immediately. I will send you a detailed email from our grievance chief officer outlining these issues and the reasonable resolutions we deserve. I also want to thank the Chancellor for setting up a meeting tomorrow to meet with HR, and hopefully we can resolve these issues. For the sake of brevity, I will give you just a few of the lowlights of this disrespect and the process violations that we will no longer endure. Unresolved step 1 grievances and settlements. The district has failed to process remedies granted as part of step 1 grievances or settlements for several months and in some cases years. Numerous grievances have been waiting for a resolution to their arbitrations for over 2 years, with some grievances in a similar state of unnecessary delay. Violations in ADA and ODI investigations. The timelines and procedures for ADA and ODI investigations are continuously violated, and the faculty who request ADA commendations are subjected to retaliation. In recent years, nearly none of the ADA and ODI investigations have been completed within the required timelines outlined in the administrative procedures. Pending grievances and arbitration. Nearly 24 grievances are still waiting for HR to schedule arbitration. According to Article 28 F4B, the Office of the Employer and Labor Relations is required to contact the arbitrator within 10 working days of receiving a filing for arbitration. Despite this, the union's attorney has confirmed that no arbitrators have been contacted for these grievances. Additionally, Vice Chancellor Williams has repeatedly refused to accept the MOU to add more arbitrators, even though she acknowledged that the delay in scheduling the arbitrations is due to a lack of available arbitrators. Lack of timely response to union inquiries. The district consistently fails to respond in a timely manner and often fails to respond at all to inquiries from union officers and faculty. Additionally, the district does not provide the necessary documentation information requested by the union or faculty, which impedes the union's ability to adequately represent and assist faculty members. Rating in and step advancement issues. There are multiple ongoing issues regarding rating in for adjunct faculty hired as full-time faculty and full-time faculty returning to the district. Several faculty members have not been rated in because the district has lost their documentation. Even after submitting proof of submission, these faculty members are still being denied rating in. Step 3 grievances. Step 3 grievances are consistently scheduled more than a month later than required by Article 28 F2. Despite multiple follow-ups, HR has failed to schedule step 3 grievances for 2 grievances. Additionally, Vice Chancellor Williams has provided responses to step 3 grievances without meeting with the faculty member, which violates the CBA. Refusal to schedule step 2 meetings for the district level issues. The district has refused to schedule step 2 meetings for grievances involving district level violations, such as issues related to the compliance officers conducting ADA and ODI investigations. Several grievances that have been granted at the campus level have not been honored, and college administrators have not taken their grievances seriously. For instance, out of 11 grievances over the past 2 years at Southwest College, only 2 have been resolved. I also want to bring up a particular issue that came up at Southwest College for a sociology faculty who had recently been fired. This sociology faculty was granted an opportunity leave of 1 year. She asked for 2 years. She was only given 1 year, okay? What ended up happening was at the end of that 1 year, she was given a AWOL letter on February 5th for not reporting on February 4th. Now, this was confusing to us because classes didn't begin until February 10th, and she's a classroom faculty. So we were asking, and we asked the district several times, what was she supposed to report to? Not a single time did they respond to us with what she was supposed to specifically report to. On top of that, she was given no classes. I don't understand how you expected her to come back, but you did not give her classes. And then she was terminated. And what they cited then was terminated for having 2 full-time jobs. Even though when they gave her the leave, they realized she was doing a dean's job out in Washington. All right. We don't know if she was going to come back or not, but she quit at that point to avoid having a termination on her record. All right. Also, we've been struggling with just getting the district to respond to our chief grievance officer. I have here emails, evidence that the district has either refused to respond to our inquiries for information or even acknowledge our chief grievance officer. This is unacceptable. I don't give a damn if you like our chief grievance officer or not. I don't care. Do your professional duty. You do not get to choose our chief grievance officer. I do. And they need to start responding. I will not share all these emails with you directly, but if you want to see them, I will redact the information that makes it confidential and show you evidence that they are not responding to our chief grievance officer and her requests. We need your help. This should be unacceptable to everyone in this room. The treatment of our union and our members must stop now. We are not the only bargaining unit that feels this way. Chancellor Rahman, you understand the issues at HR and the most since this was a department you had headed. I know the interim tag is limiting, and this is one of the reasons that we hope that you are made permanent so that you can feel more empowered to address these issues. Last, do not confuse kindness with weakness. I have waited for you to do the right thing, but we will no longer wait. It is the worker that makes all this possible. None of you in this room would draw a paycheck without the staff and faculty doing their job of direct service to our students. Treat us with the respect we deserve. Treat us as partners in the education of our students. Treat us as the essential workers because we are united and we can shut this down.
Thank you. Please.
Good afternoon. My name is Angela Echeverry, and I'm currently serving as the president of the District Academic Senate. And I do want to take a moment to acknowledge our frustration with HR in this district And we have been making this case for over a year, how HR has been weaponized against our faculty for speaking out, for complaining about discrimination, Title IX complaints. I think we can do better. And so I really appreciate the comments by the union, and I just want to say that I am fully behind what he said, because I know this is to be true, in particular what's going on at Southwest with the faculty members, the women who have been placed on leave for no good reason for months. And this is just absolutely unacceptable for speaking out against Title IX violations. We can do better, especially now that it's Women's History Month. And I want to express my support for the resolution on Women's History Month and International Women's Day, as well as last month's resolution on Black History Month. We can do better. We can do better for our faculty, women of color in particular at Southwest. What's happening in this district is absolutely unacceptable. And I wasn't planning to talk about this, but I have to speak up. HR is out of control in this district. It's been weaponized against faculty and employees, and this has to stop. It has to stop. And there's no excuse. We have 4 women on this board. We have a board that is diverse. Why are you allowing this to happen? Make it stop. And I don't fault the Chancellor Roman. This is a legacy from the previous leadership. Anyway, sorry, but I had to say something. Okay. Getting back to what I was going to say initially, the District Academic Senate is going to be meeting next week at City College. And on the 14th of March, we're going to hold District Discipline Day at West LA College. The theme is going to be strengthening collaboration to overcome current challenges. We are living in unprecedented times. There are attacks and threats against the Department of Education, diversity, equity, and inclusion, climate change studies, sanctuary protections, immigrants, undocumented students, Spanish speakers, trans LGBTQ community, peaceful protests, medical research, science, and the media. There's talk about banning books, areas of study, use of preferred pronouns. These are really unprecedented times. It's up to us as a district to model an alternative, a better way. Let's treat our employees and our students with the respect and the decency that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, President Eno, members of the board, Chancellor Roman. For the record, I am Dr. Deborah Harrington. I'm president of the Teamsters, representing our district deans. I do want to commend my fellow union members here as the faculty for standing up, particularly in light of what Angela just talked about. I have never seen a time like this in my life. And I do think it's up to us to stand in the right, stand in the light, and show the way for everyone else. So I do want to say that. The biggest ongoing challenge for our unit currently, which I've mentioned here on several occasions, has been the paying of the additional assignments differential for those deans who have received approval from their VPs. We finally have a payroll code set up a year and a half or more than a year and a half later. And some deans have been appropriately paid, but there are still glitches. We've made progress in agreeing on the language for the approval form for additional assignment differentials moving forward. I do want to, in particular, make sure senior staffs across the district know that to resolve the issues of completing accurate payments going back to July 1st, 2023, HR is directing deans to work with their campus SPOC Additionally, if there are further glitches, we are being directed to tell our members to alert their supervising VP in order for the VP to resolve matters. I do think, again, this points to something where our HR leadership is not living up to the standards that we deserve. This has taken far too long, and now we're given a whole other directions to make sure this gets resolved. But hopefully, we've seemed to find a way forward, and our members remain quite frustrated, however, with the time it has taken. And the fact that people still have not been properly compensated under a contract that was approved going on 2 years ago. To conclude my remarks, I naturally want to give a shout out in honor of Women's History Month and International Women's Day. I will call your attention to the fact that of all the labor units, I'm fairly confident that Teamsters proportionally has more women in its ranks than the others. I want to recognize and deeply appreciate the leadership of my fellow women administrators. They are powerful examples of service leadership and ethical and compassionate vision and action. I also want to acknowledge and honor the upcoming holiday in honor of the great Cesar Chavez, while also recognizing his powerful partner, Dolores Huerta. As Ms. Huerta has said, respecting other people's rights is peace. May we continue our pursuit of peace, equity, and social justice through our educational mission. May we continue to embody that other famous phrase of Ms. Huerta's, si se puede.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Andrea Edwards, President of AMT 1521A Classified. I did have a long speech because there are some pressing matters, but I do want to echo the sentiments of our union leaders here. It is a shared common issue and area of concern. Not to jump on the bandwagon, I hate to do that, but in reality, where we want to meet as equals, it is not to be met with the defiance in respect of your title or position. It is a commonality that we're coming with an issue that we want to mitigate at the lowest levels. When we are met with the attitude that you can file a grievance, or that's even when it's a clear violation of your contract or HR policies, it's not something that I can understand. And so with respect to all deference and respect to all persons, I think what I'm having the same struggle with is the ability to come argue the points of my members and feel respected in that position to do so. Bringing the research that I try to take an excellence with, looking at it methodically, calculating it, looking at the data trends, I'm struggling with even having that to be received in a way that I feel is respectable of the time that's given to that. We do know bad actors exist. We're not above reproach. I do say hold accountability where it's due, but it's more than that. It's about trying to look at a critical issue and be respected in that. I do want to also point out that our lifeguards right now at the Pierce campus are up for layoff or because the pool is closing. And this is livelihood. So when you see their names on your agenda today, these are people who have families and children to feed. Now, there are rules and ways that we can look at it. The PC is clear. We have ways of either taking a demotion or 39 months of reassignment or reinstatement, but these are people who are panicked. And for 2 years, we had to try to figure out, are you laid off? Are you not? Where do I go? What do I do? They have kids to feed. And now there are options about other campuses and pools that they can be assigned to. But I want to be mindful that we look at a way that this pool is a community hub. You lose community contracts, you lose your outreach. It's not just letting people go. It's not funding properly the pool to keep the upkeep that it deserves. We shouldn't be here because of that. So I just ask that. I know you have to make this decision, but it's no fault of my members, all those who are impacted by it. It does impact that community as a whole, and it's unfortunate. I'd like to say I do thank Chancellor Rahman for having that HR experience and the ability to say, hey, let's have a recurring meeting so we can discuss some critical issues. Thank you for building that rapport and relationship and the experience that you bring, because we've met multiple times when I was working at a local level at East, and you have shown the same methodical understanding to listen to critical reason. We may disagree, and that's okay, right? And that's okay what I'm saying to everyone. It's not about forceful beliefs or forcing your opinions on anyone. It's about saying, here's where my counter or my rebuttal is in a respectable manner. I thank you. We know we're in a critical time with the federal attacks on education. It's like the Wild Wild West, and it's almost like we are not standing in solidarity to oppose it. Is that this dichotomous time that we're also isolating ourselves in these silos, and it's sickening. I mean, we should be leading the example in the charge that we seek, not mirroring what feels like the old, tactics. And I'm just kind of baffled because we're trendsetters and leaders and we're educators. And so I just echo that we are still looking at those vacated budgeted positions, and a lot of those impacts when we don't look at classified members in a whole person approach. These are parents, their brothers, their sisters, their mothers. And so we get it. It is all hands on deck. It doesn't mean it's a loophole for you not to fund when people are working in a department that has been short-staffed by 10, it's down to 3 or 2, right? It doesn't mean there's a loophole where you can place an ISA and say, well, we no longer need a classified, or to continue to hire people outside of their peak seasons, because there's no operational definition of that. If you see there's a trend, you probably want to hire. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees and Chancellor. My name is Christina Ozan, representing SEIU Local 99. I just want to stand in solidarity with James McKeever. I agree that, employees should not be penalized for speaking up for what is right. We are also having issues too. So, a while back, I had brought up the fact that our conflict intervention resolution program was canceled. And I was told it was canceled by HR, and that's something that I think is very needed for the workplace. We have issues going on. We have employees clashing with employees, supervisors clashing with employees. That program is very needed for this district. And also, I think it's disheartening that, we've been talking about this floating holiday that we've been requesting to have that reinstated to our members, and we still talking about the same thing to this day. So the union has reached out to the district, and we haven't received a response back. So I'm just saying that the board needs to look into this also. And then also I want to say, as we celebrate Women's History Month, I would like to take this time to pay tribute to all the women that has played a significant role in contributing to American society. But I would especially like to pay tribute to all the women that has dedicated their lives to education, women who are in leadership roles that's making a positive difference in people's lives, and to the women who fought and stood up for equality, diversity, inclusion to further improve women's positions in the workplace, and for women who continue to break barriers today. And I just want to say thank you for all your contributions and being the heroes for other women. And also, as we celebrate Cesar Chavez Day, I would like to pay tribute to the life and legacy of Cesar Chavez, a civil rights and labor leader, activist, for his fight to ensure that foreign workers have fair wages and better working conditions. And he will always be remembered as a hero for his courageous fight and sacrifice in leading a nonviolence movement to improve the lives of foreign workers across the United States. And then lastly, I would like to make an announcement. On March 15, 2025, we'll be having a rally at Los Angeles City Hall. Different labor unions will be coming together. We just want to show solidarity with all of our communities and institutions that are under attack, including immigrants and workers. Our school system is under attack, so we want to send a message that says we are going to continue to stand with our people and community. And not only are we not going to allow things to go backwards, but we're going to continue to demand more. So this invitation is for everyone, and I hope to see everyone of you at the rally. Thank you.
Thank you. So that concludes the representative reports, I think. We're going to circle back to the agenda item C, under disclosures. Chancellor Rahman.
Thank you again, Madam President. In light of 2 additional members joining the meeting, I'll go ahead and read the disclosure again for the benefit of Trustee Vela and Trustee Henderson. Prior to proceeding to vote on the matters before the board of the agenda today, we trustees are requested to advise staff if there are any items on the agenda for which they have received contribution from a participant in the matter, which requires disclosure and recusal under Levine Act or another conflict of interest law. When your name is called, each trustee, please advise if you have disclosures to make on any of the items on the agenda. If so, please identify the agenda item of each such item. Please also do state the basis of the conflict by either identifying the donor or of a disqualifying campaign donation or providing information about another disqualifying financial interest. So I'll go this way and ask Trustee Henderson if you have any disclosures for today.
I have no conflicts.
Thank you so much. Trustee Vela?
Yeah, I have the extension to the PMO.
Okay, at item Y2?
Yes.
Okay. For the purposes of this particular item, Madam President will ask to pull Y2
Sure.
and vote on that separately.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now we're going to go on to item F, reports from the board. Trustee Vela, can you please summarize the proceedings of the Legislative and Public Affairs Committee that you chaired on February 19th?
Yes.
Are you okay?
By the way, can we go back? I'm so sorry.
Sure, no, no.
I forgot. I don't have a conflict anymore on the Jacobs, the PMO extension. Sorry, I forgot.
It's okay.
I received a campaign donation in February.
Okay.
And so it's been 12 months. So
Fair
I
enough.
forgot it was March. I've been busy.
Okay.
So anyway,
for-
okay, let's go to what?
We'll still,
Public Affairs?
sorry, there was some additional comments for that, for the Y2, so we'll still,
Yeah, we're gonna pull it not for the purposes of Levine Act, but simply for an update on the PMO.
Okay.
Thank you
all
for the, we'll record that.
Okay, so anyway, it was a very, very productive public affairs committee. Nonetheless, we had discussions regarding the fire recovery / relief efforts block grant that's coming down from the state. And, you know, this is another LACCD victory where we are in talks with the state chancellor and the governor to really provide some dollars to California community colleges throughout in order for us to go ahead and train our students for fire recovery related jobs in CTE and all sorts of efforts on this. So we're really excited about that and more to come on that. And then I want to also proudly announce that we are co-sponsoring with Santa Monica Community College, AB 648, yes, our community college student housing bill. And this is what this is going to do is just streamline all community colleges in California. Hopefully it passes so they don't have to go through the cumbersome process in the cities and county and incorporated areas to be able to build student housing for their students on land that we own or lease. So that's a good one. And then we had our federal update. That was, I think for some of you that understand, there was a lot of talk about the Pell Grant. So Pell Grant, Department of Ed cuts. If, you know, Department of Ed, I know this is something that's really, really we're looking at, because if the Department of Ed cuts the Pell Grant, that's a $200 million hit for us, which we might have to cease operations altogether, that type of doomsday. Obviously, we're working with the Department of Education. We were the only community college district that met with the Trump administration regarding this on our trip to DC. I want to thank my fellow trustees who were there. So we're fighting and ensuring that that doesn't happen. But then there's $42 million currently in earmarks that are also in danger, and then the current earmarks right now. So lots and lots of advocacy there. I want to thank all of you and my colleagues and also our bargaining units for supporting us. State policy updates, same thing. We had a budget update as well. We're still looking at, you know, good news is, you know, COLA still on the table. Lots of, you know, state help that is going through the legislature right now in last minute kind of requests. And then at the local level, well, the fires were a big topic. How we're going to be helping out. We talked about the foundation and its help. So lots there. Thank you.
thank you. Trustee Hoffman, can you please summarize the proceedings from the Budget and Finance Committee that you chaired on February 19th?
Yes, thank you, Chair Eno. We had no action items at the Budget and Finance Committee meeting, but we did have two very good, actually three very good reports. One was a continuation from Legislative and Public Affairs. We had Leslie Holner, who is with Holland and Knight, our federal lobbyists, come and talk to us about some of the federal grants and how those may or may not be continued depending upon this administration and what happens going forward. For now, I think everything looks kind of okay. There were two colleges in California that actually received letters. One was, I think it was Victor Valley Community College District, and the other district was State Center, about their federal grants and how they were demanding information about what part of that federal grant was focused on DEIA. And anyway, that was fought in the courts, and that was blocked. And so those colleges don't have to report out on that, and they can keep their grants for now. But Leslie was pretty clear in, just kind of letting us know that we should sort of take an inventory of what are our federal grants and how does that affect our students and our employees and our colleges. The other presentation that we got was from Ramirez and Company on the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, TCIA, which basically, a lot of you are in the room. It's pretty complicated about tax exempt bonds, but it would affect our building program and obviously our constituents who voted for the bonds. There's going to be, and this is for you, Trustee Vella, some lobbying efforts. And so I think we do need to engage our federal lobbyists, and we need to engage with other community college districts in the state to sort of try to do, I don't know if it's another trip to DC, which I know is coming up next week, but we need to get to members of Congress to talk to them about this, because this could have like dire effects on our programs. And I know you weren't there for the presentation, but I do have a presentation that I can share with you. But we should probably do some coordinating with other districts, Dr. Roman. So let's put that on our radar. And if you want to put that as an agenda item on your next legislative and budget, or your legislative and public affairs committee, that would be really great. We got our second quarter financial status and budget report, and then we had a report on our internal audit department's self-assessment. And we were all very appreciative. And so thank you. And that is my report, Madam Chair.
Great. Next is Trustee Veras. Please summarize the proceedings of the Institutional and Effectiveness of Student Services Committee that you chaired on the 19th as well.
Yes, thank you. The committee had three informational items. The first was a program review update from Los Angeles Harbor College. And we had a presentation on the virtual digital marketing apprenticeship program that was done with Clear Digital Labs. And so it's a wonderful job training program that we have, where with a couple of units, you get a chance to actually dig deep into real life work experience. And so one of our CTE programs that supported with grants support as well. But great presentation by Harbor College and the faculty and the work that was happening there. Then we also had a review of the Student Center funding formula. And I just wanted to note that overall in the presentation, post-COVID, we've seen very steady FTES growth. And there were two areas that I wanted to note from the presentation that I think would be of interest to the board. First was that the percentage of increases in success metrics, and that's the completion of transfer level math and English certificates and bachelor's degrees from 2022 to 2024 in the 2 years that are studied there, were higher than the state average, which is great. And other metrics, including ADTs, AAAS degrees, and CTE programs also had increases, but that were lower than the state averages. And so along with our steady growth there, there were some stats to actually really pay attention to and look at, and understand that there's some good in the numbers that are there that are passing benchmarks at the state level too. So, and the last thing was we had a continued update on Common Course numbering, and some of that to come to us in a bigger way this coming fall.
Great. Thank you. Trustee Hernandez, can you please summarize the proceedings of the Facilities and Master Planning and Oversight Committee that you chaired on also the 19th?
Sure. At the planning committee, we looked at the Build LACCD semi-annual report, going over the extensive work that we're doing across the district. We also had an overview of owner-insured controlled insurance program that is currently being implemented at the district.
Great. Trustee Bayham, can you please summarize the proceedings of the Student Affairs Committee that you chaired on February 21st?
Yes, absolutely. Hello, everybody. So I just want to thank Lieutenant Gonzalez, who I'm meeting for the first time in person, for reminding and comforting our students, undocumented and otherwise, to feel comfortable to approach them if they should need anything, and that the Sheriff's Department will not be cooperating with ICE in any way, which is something that I think we should continue to inform our students, to let them know that if they need anything, they don't have to be afraid to approach law enforcement on campus. So also, we had an opportunity to discuss the translations and course number changes and how we're better able to explain the reasoning and what the changes could mean to upcoming students and students that have already taken the courses. And also, I was able to attend an assembly bill meeting at the Capitol in Sacramento a couple weeks back, and advocate for some reimagining for CalWorks for speaking specifically to student parents, which was a great and amazing opportunity. And very happy about that. And then lastly, there were discussions on the upcoming election, both local and a student trustee position, and the processes for those dates and deadlines for those positions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. So next is item 2, board travel authorization. May I have a motion and a second on item F2? Moved by Vela. Second by Hernandez. Any discussion? No. Roll call, please, Lupe.
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote.
Yes.
Trustee Henderson,
Yes.
trustee Hernandez.
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman,
Yes.
trustee Eno,
Yes.
trustee Vella,
Yes.
trustee Vettis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. So item F3, absence ratification authorization. May I have a motion and a second on item F3? So moved. So moved by Hernandez.
Second.
Second by Hoffman. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote.
Yes.
Trustee Henderson,
Yes.
trustee Hernandez,
Yes.
trustee Hoffman,
Yes.
trustee Eno,
Yes.
trustee Vella,
Yes.
trustee Vettis. Thank you.
Great. On to our resolutions, celebrating National Women's History Month and International Women's Day, which will be on March 8th, so Saturday. May I have a motion and second on item G1?
So moved.
So moved by Hoffman,
Second.
second by Hernandez. Any discussion? I just want to be in agreement with all the folks I mentioned today about the women leaders in our lives and that have paved the way for us, and just a lot of gratitude. So thank you. Roll call, please, Lupe.
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote.
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez,
Yes.
trustee Henderson,
Yes.
trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Trustee Eno,
Yes.
trustee Vella.
Yes.
Trustee Vettis, not present.
Great. The next one is G2, recognizing Cesar Chavez Day on March 31st, 2025. May I have a motion and a second on item G2?
Move to approve.
Motion by Hoffman, second by Hernandez. Any discussion? I think also as a labor leader, I am also very grateful for Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta and their leadership to make sure that we had fair working rights and civil rights and advocacy. Lupe, can I have a roll call, please?
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote.
Yes.
Trustee Henderson,
Yes.
trustee Hernandez,
Yes.
trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Trustee Eno,
Yes.
trustee Vella, trustee Vettis, not present.
Great. So now we are moving on to item H, reports from the Chancellor. I will now hand off the mic to Chancellor Rahman for his report.
Yes, thank you again, President Eno, colleagues, members of the board. Good afternoon. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Quickly here, again, we'll recognize Women's History Month. Follow that with a brief update on enrollment. Talk briefly about the LAEDC 2025 forecast event that took place at ELAC, and then we'll finish out with our college report. Today, we're going to be highlighting Pierce College and their peer online course review. So looking forward to that. If we can go to the next slide. And first, again, let's start by acknowledging Women's History Month. We're very proud that the majority of this board happens to be women, as it's been stated. Yes, that's worthy of applause, please. But I have to say, also, many of our senior leadership positions are actually held by women. And this is also the case for our faculty and our classified ranks. LACCD, we strive to always elevate our women, acknowledge and celebrate their profound contributions. You know, women have always been at the forefront of change, bringing bold and innovative ideas, transformative leadership, fearless determination to every space that they enter. And we need those strong voices. We need those courageous leaders to challenge the status quo, create lasting opportunities for future generation of women. But let me be clear, we're still not where we need to be. There's still issues of parity and inequity across many areas. And I think it's incumbent upon us as leaders, educational leaders, to continue to champion these issues of equity and parity. I think it's also important that we remain steadfast and resolved in our commitment to supporting, uplifting, and empowering the women who lead, inspire, and pave the way for the next generation of leaders. As we've said before, and we'll say it today, our efforts to champion equity cannot be condensed to a month. We need to do this on a continuous basis as part of our mission and part of the fabric of this wonderful district. So I want to just thank all of our women and members of the LACCD family. Thank you for everything that you do for our community college students and support of them. And thank you for your amazing leadership. Again, I'd like to give them, if you'll indulge me, a round of applause to all of our women who are here today. Thank you. Okay, if we can go on, let me give you a quick update on enrollment. We're entering first few weeks of spring, and we can see that our numbers are still holding above last spring. Our head count's about 4% higher than spring of 2024. Enrollment's about the same, about 4% above. Section count's a little less than last year, but the average class size you'll see is about 5% higher, which means our efficiency is actually up. It's a good thing. We're trending in the right direction. All gender groups are showing an increase compared to last year. Unit loads are also up. Perhaps most notable is the 9% of students taking 12 or more units. What this means is that more of our students are attending full-time in the spring. So again, a really good trend in that regard. We can go to the next slide. So here, generally speaking, you'll see enrollment numbers by ethnicity are holding. There is a major drop, primarily in white students there, 4%, about 1,000 or so. There is some drop in the 35 and older students and first-time students. We don't know if this is a trend, but this is something that we'll certainly be keeping an eye on in subsequent terms. What's really good in this particular side, and you'll see it similar to last month, our non-credit numbers continue to grow. We have about 12% increase in headcount, 16% overall increase in enrollment. So again, kudos to our colleges for increasing access to non-credit students. This is a growing area, and we continue to see a positive trend in non-credit. The modality stays about the same, 48% remote, about 8% hybrid, and about 44% in person. You can see the fill rate for remote still slightly higher than hybrid and in person. Again, overall, we're seeing enrollment gains across the board. We're encouraged by the enrollment numbers thus far. Our second 8-week courses are likely to also give us a boost. So colleagues, enrollment's on the upward trend. Again, we're watching these numbers, but overall spring is doing okay relative to last year. So with that, let me go on to the next, if you can skip one more, Lupe, thank you. So as I mentioned earlier, I want to thank East LA College for hosting LAEDC's 2025 Economic Forecast. Thank you to President Perez and his team for hosting us. Board President Eno was present, Deputy Chancellor Alba Lopez, Vice Chancellor Lancaster. We had President Grivens, I believe, and Limbaugh also in attendance, and our Director of Communications, Juliet Hidalgo. Thank you so much for representing LACCD. The recovery of the wildfires was a major topic of conversation, as you can imagine, talking about the role of the state, the county, and the city. And I would also throw in there the community colleges are being part of this recovery effort. Analysis and projections were presented for LA County, and perhaps most notably are the fields that remain emerging in education, health, hospitality, and government. Many of our programs are aligned with these emerging fields, but I would also say that we have opportunities to expand into other areas as we're looking at the World Cup in 2026 and the Olympics in 2028. You can see that we had a special guest. Governor Newsom was in attendance. He presented his relief plans in response to the wildfires. He also discussed the California plans for economic growth. They held a press conference. We got the backdrop there of ELEC, as you can see. And a lot of the members of the team that were there were able to attend the press conference. We can go on to the next slide, Lupe. Okay, so we're excited to present Los Angeles Pierce College. This is their peer online course review program. We're excited to tell you more about this program. I'm gonna ask President Aguiar, President of Pierce, LA Pierce College, and I think you have other members of your team with you. Let me give you the floor. Talk to us about the peer online course review program at Pierce College.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. President Eno, Chancellor Rodriguez, and trustee members. Well, today we're going to share with you how poker is really played at Pierce College, and the payoff is our student success. So Dr. Mary Jo Apigo, who's the Vice President of Academic Affairs, will be doing a presentation. We also have faculty team members online who will be also sharing out.
Thank you, President Aguiar. Members of the board, Chancellor Rahman, I'm excited to give you a brief overview of our Pierce Online Course Review Program, our POKER program. We're ready to deal you in. So through POKER, faculty work with trained reviewers to develop high-quality online classes that are engaging, inclusive, and designed to support student learning and student success. POKER certified classes meet quality standards that have been developed by the California Virtual Campus. And at Pierce, we've aligned about 50 or so different classes and are seeing the impact of POKER to increase student success and help close equity gaps. We've seen a 4% increase in overall successful course completion rates following courses following POKER alignment, with the largest increases in our Asian, Filipino, and Hispanic students. That scope of the study included about 2,000 students over 55 class sections before and after POKER alignment. And so those results of increased student success and closing equity gaps with POKER are getting more and more robust as our program grows. And so now to share how we got these impressive results, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Wendy Bass, our distance education coordinator, and Professor Heather Kokorowski, our POKER faculty lead, who are joining us via Zoom.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to present on this. I want to talk about the fact that at Pierce College, over the past 5 years, we have built a really robust POKER program. As VP Apigo explained, we have about 50 aligned courses, and right now we currently have 28 classes in preparation for review. And I want to explain why we feel that there's such an increase in student success. We have actually done surveys of our students that have participated in POKER reviewed classes that have been approved, and the students feel that they have more active support from their instructor, the class is easier to navigate, and they know where to go for help and how to get support, and also how to access all of the materials in the class, because POKER certified classes go through a certain kind of just even how the navigation is set up. The materials in POKER certified classes are all accessible. And as we all know, this benefits all students, not just any kind of students that have need accommodations, but all students really benefit from the accessible content. And now that we have the ZTC grant, one of our future things is we are focusing on creating more classes that are POKER aligned as well as ZTC. So we'll have even more classes for students to encourage success and not have them have to purchase textbooks. So I'm going to go into letting Heather share a little more about how we get the faculty prepared and ready to have their courses get POKER aligned.
Hi, everyone. My name's Heather Kokorowski, as Wendy said, and I'm the poker lead at Pierce. And thank you again for the opportunity to highlight our robust poker program, which we are very proud of. So at Pierce, we currently have a team of 17 poker reviewers, and we also have, as Wendy said, 28 classes in preparation. And what we've learned is that preparation is a key part of the program. As we built our local poker program at Pierce, we quickly realized that faculty preparation is absolutely key to its success. Preparing a course for poker review is not just about the final alignment, it's about ensuring the process is smooth and frustration-free for everyone involved. The preparation phase is the largest and most critical part of the poker program, often taking faculty 6 to 12 months or much longer, like 3 to 4 years, to complete. Faculty are incredibly busy balancing their teaching, research, and other responsibilities, which makes it easy for poker preparation to fall to the side. This is why continuous support from a dedicated poker lead is essential. Throughout the process, I provide regular check-ins, detailed feedback, and ongoing encouragement to keep faculty motivated and making steady progress. Without this sustained support, many would struggle to complete the process, delaying their course review and ultimately impacting student success to high-quality, well-designed online learning. To help streamline the course preparation process, I created a Pierce Poker Prep course in Canvas that consists of 2 core modules. One dedicated to accessibility. So as Wendy mentioned, all of our poker courses have gone through really strict accessibility reviews to make sure that everything is completely accessible. And a second module that is dedicated to familiarizing faculty with the actual rubric, the CVC course design rubric that the reviewers use when they assess the course for alignment, so that faculty know going into the process what the reviewers will be looking for. Faculty engage in the poker prep course with interactive video quizzes that I created, applying what they learned directly to their poker development shell, where they have the course that they're working on in a shell so they can actively work on it as they're learning new techniques. Then they check in with me as the poker lead periodically for feedback and guidance. So at its core, this process helps faculty adopt a student-centered approach, ensuring courses are easy to navigate and clearly structured. Poker courses also emphasize that regular and substantive interaction between instructors and students that we know is so important, fostering a strong online learning community that is supportive of student success. The accessibility module in the prep course guides faculty to make their courses fully inclusive, shows them how to add captions, add alt text to images, and how to format their Canvas pages for accessibility with proper headings and lists and links. Faculty also learn how to use Canvas accessibility tools, including the built-in accessibility checker and PokeTech, before the official review so they could do their best to fix accessibility issues on their own. Then I go in and help them, and then we double check it or triple check it again during the official review. So every single detail is checked multiple times. And this is another reason why poker courses are so successful, because they meet the needs of all of our students, not just those with disabilities. So thank you again for the opportunity to highlight our poker program and for supporting initiatives that promote student success and equity.
Okay, I want to thank all of the faculty that have gone through this rigorous process. So thank you very much.
Any questions from my board colleagues? No. Thank you.
I have one final.
Please.
Part of my report, just wanted to mention that we do have our 9th annual Women's History Month tea happening on the 24th of March from 10 to 12 at City College. Colleagues, if you've not yet RSVP, please do so. Our trustees and some of the invites. So Dr. Ru, I think the information's gone out or it's going out shortly. So save the date, March 24th, 10 to 12, LA City College. Thank you so much. That concludes my report, Madam President.
Great. So now I will recess to the Committee of the Whole. I'm going to transfer the gavel over to Vice President Hernandez to lead us in the next discussion.
Great. The Committee of the Whole meeting will now come to order. May I have roll call, please?
Trustee Henderson,
Here.
trustee Hernandez,
Here.
trustee Hoffman,
Here.
trustee Eno,
Here.
trustee Vella,
Here.
trustee Vettis. Not present. Student trustee Bayham.
Present.
Thank you.
Great. Are there any members of the public signed up to address the board regarding the committee of the whole agenda items?
No, ma'am.
All right, so joining us today is Dr. Lee Sada, Vice Chancellor of Facilities, and to provide a brief presentation on the student housing strategy. Welcome, Dr. Sada. The floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, President Hernandez. I'd like to start by just thanking the entire board for your leadership and, of course, the Chancellor in supporting the housing initiative. This has been something that has been, in our opinion, a real sprint, but we've had a group of people that have been completely committed, including several of yourselves, members of the FIMPOP committee, and of course, our very capable consultants who are here to present much of the work. So if we can go to the next slide, please. I'd like to just, again, emphasize that this has been a very collaborative effort. Not only do we have our housing strategy consultants, who I'll introduce in a second, but we've had good work also contributed by our PMO, Ed Van Ginkel, Rod Hamilton, Deborah Wiley, and Marcela Gomez, as well as key members of our internal LA leadership team. Again, want to recognize Chancellor Roman, Vice Chancellor Gordon, now Deputy Chancellor Alba Lopez, AVC Quijada de Franque, and of course, support from our OGC team, as well as, in addition to that, even contributions from our Chief Advancement Officer, Kelly Kane. So without further ado, let's get into it. We have members of our team here, Edward Bake and Ava Bromberg, to present the work to you today, which was also contributed. We had contributions from Jenna Hornstock, who couldn't make it today because she's traveling at a workshop.
Thank you, Dr. Sata and the board. Great to be with you today. A key part of our approach was to review all the work completed to date, and this included many thoughtful reports by the LACCD build team and consultants. We reviewed meeting minutes from the board, FEMPOC, and Student Basic Needs Committee to really understand prior conversations and what's important to key stakeholders. And in a few slides, Edgar will talk through the deep dive that we did into student data that's become a critical part of the strategy, the proposed strategy. Next slide, please. There are also laws and board policies that drive this work, as well as state legislation that we reviewed. Next slide. We appreciate that everything the district does is in support of its core educational mission, helping students achieve their educational goals so they can move on and contribute to the region. To do this hard thing, investing in a housing program that supports your educational mission, it's essential to align on guiding principles. And we see the pillars on this page as fundamental. They address the concerns and desires of the key stakeholders we met with, and they anchor the overall strategy that we'll present today. The first of these principles is a clear purpose: to deliver housing to enable students to progress on their academic and career development journeys faster. The second, financial sustainability. The LACCD housing program must strive to be cost neutral or net positive for the district and the colleges, while serving a range of student income levels. Affordability. Create mixed income student housing to serve a range of students with different income levels, cross-subsidizing the most housing insecure with those who can afford to pay more. This is a key avenue to achieve financial sustainability. Partnership. You have some excellent natural strategic partnerships you can pursue to reduce time to market, for delivering beds for your students that your students can occupy, to manage risk exposure, and to optimize bond dollar investment and augment the district's operational capacity. We'll be talking more about those partnerships this afternoon. Risk management. It's essential to develop governance and partnership structures that protect the district from downside risks by shifting risk exposure to external partners wherever possible. And lastly, performance. You can track how student educational outcomes are affected by the housing program and make adjustments to maximize the positive impact on students as the program grows. To learn from your housing efforts and ensure the program is impactful and financially sustainable. Next slide, please. We believed it was critical to talk to key stakeholders to shape this strategy, as ultimately this program must serve your students, produce the outcomes that you want to see, and must be financially and operationally feasible and sustainable. We held 27 stakeholder interviews so far. We met with your college presidents, all the trustees, leading experts, leadership team, and student representatives. And I want to note that the meetings with several additional community colleges are in progress, and I'll pass it now to Edgar to talk through some of the student data.
Thanks, Eva. Next slide, please. At the outset of developing the district housing strategy, we took a data-driven approach to understand the composition of the student body. We wanted to know who we're serving from a census perspective, so we started with a view of the fall 2023 cohort. With scarce financial resources and an outsized demand for affordable student housing, we also use this data to figure out how to prioritize occupancy. We started to sort the district's student enrollment into unit load view. We divided the district's approximate 101,000 students into 4 tiers. Tier 1 includes approximately a third of the district students who are taking a full course load. In Tier 2, we capture approximately 44% of district students. And the question here is, could providing housing to these Tier 2 students help them take on 3 or more units to graduate faster? When we look across Tiers 1 through 3, we have over 60,000 students eligible for student housing. This represents approximately 64% of all district students taking more than 6 units. And as we recall our guiding principles, in particular the financial sustainability pillar, we wanted to see how many students do not have financial aid and as a proxy for those who can pay from full market rate rents. Of course, just because you're not a non-financial aid student doesn't mean you come from family of economic means. Maybe you didn't know how to fill out the student aid forms. But at the high level, there are over 11,000 non-financial aid students taking more than 9 units. Could a percentage of these students help cross-subsidize their low-income peers in a student housing program? Throughout our listening and learn sessions, there were an overwhelming level of support to provide housing for foster youth students. The district had approximately 871 foster youth students. Almost a third of all foster youth students were taking a full course load, and 50% of all foster youth students were taking 9 or more units. One factor to note here is that since foster youth students potentially come with funding and are priority populations with existing services infrastructure at the district, could we exempt them from the unit loan requirement for student housing eligibility? Again, could we use some of these valuable vouchers to help cross-subsidize other lower income students in the district student housing program? As we think through about the rollout strategy for phase 1, we wanted to spend some time to look at the LA College Promise program, a very successful program the district currently sponsors. The data clearly shows that LA College Promise students significantly outperform their peers in all the key momentum points. What we found is that the LA College Promise program has broad representation across the district and deep penetration across the special populations. We would like to propose starting phase 1 rollout with the LA College Promise program. Lastly, in line with our need to achieve financial sustainability, we looked at the number of international students in the district. We like that international students pay full freight and need to demonstrate financial ability to sustain themselves throughout their stay in the US. There is a potential to use the revenue the district earned from these international students to further cross-subsidize the lower income students. We recognize that today there are headwinds in the coming months and years with international students obtaining visas to study in the US. All of this work and research inform our proposed strategies for the district student housing program. Next slide, please. The housing strategy presented to FENPOC on November 20th centered on 5 key drivers. The first is that the housing program think at the portfolio scale and not project by project. You can leverage your bond dollars to maximize impact. This is the district's key opportunity to house more students. You can calibrate project by project so that you can have the flexibility in your ability to serve a variety of student households and needs. As mentioned earlier, we can also look at cross-subsidizing the lowest rents by serving students that can pay at or near market rate rents. And you can think in a community regional context. Think of your colleges as 3 clusters, the Valley, Central, and West-South regions, and serve student housing needs that way. In particular, with your strategy to get off-campus student housing. You can pick locations that serve a cluster and have access to public transportation. The second driver is to build a student life program infrastructure required to support a housing program. These are critical things that can address the real concerns that we heard about the district being able to deliver the program successfully, protect you from risk, protect the general fund, and really serve your students. There will need to be both district-wide and campus-level support for the housing you provide. The key here is to develop a budget for the operational impacts at the district and college level and build that into the financial assumptions of the housing model so that these costs are covered. A third driver is to pursue multiple housing options. You can continue to pursue a dorm on LACCD-owned land, and you can also buy buildings, lease beds or units from other buildings, and even enter into public-private partnerships to secure beds. Ava will talk more about the nature of P3 arrangements in subsequent slides. There's a consensus across your leadership team that the district should reopen a dialogue with the CSUs to lease available beds whenever possible, and also engage with the other local four-year universities to identify potential partnership opportunities. Finally, you can plan for the operational intensity that this program will create, seek partnerships, and identify ways to reduce the risk to the district. This can be done through partnerships with the other universities, seeking philanthropic support, and also through exploring the creation of an auxiliary structure that can mitigate risk. With that, I'll pass it to Ava to cover the P3 delivery methods.
Thanks, Edgar. Next slide, please. This slide is meant to ground us in what it means to have a P3 strategy. So P3 doesn't mean that it's one specific approach. And because your Measure LA bonds are pretty flexible, you have a real opportunity to leverage the GO bonds and other sources to stretch the dollars to deliver more housing and serve more students. The language of the Measure LA bond, Measure LA bond measure was very flexible. It said you can use the funds to plan, construct, acquire, and contribute to workforce and student housing units. So this offers a lot of options. You can do a capital project like on-campus student housing with a P3 model. This means doing an RFP for development with a DBFOM, design, build, finance, operate, maintain. You can acquire buildings that are already built, and then you'd need to secure a third-party operator. And so, for example, an example is the RFP that went out on February 3rd, which we'll discuss in a moment. You can lease all of a building or a block of units, and again, would need to secure an outside property manager to operate. And finally, you can structure a public-private partnership for a project that's either already built or in the planning stages. And within all of these models, there's a way to leverage your dollars and with other funding sources or other people's investments rather than pay 100% of project costs. So it's important to note that the bonds cannot be used to make rent payments or give students direct funding for rent, and that might be important to do some education around this fact. Next slide, please. With this understanding that P3 can take many forms, this slide gets into the details of the 3 P3 approaches actively underway to deliver housing that meets the needs of the various types of student households that you serve, allows you to leverage your bond dollars, and also are structured to recognize that there are short, medium, and longer term strategies. We created this matrix to compare the 3 pathways that will be delivered through the initial solicitation process and a 4th additional pathway. So I want to note that these are happening concurrently, as Edgar mentioned, with reopening discussions with the CSUs, but that process does not require a solicitation. On February 3rd, LACCD issued a joint call for properties and innovative housing partnerships called the RFP for Properties for Delivery of Housing to LACCD Students. Class 1 and 2 in this RFP is focused on opportunities for the district to acquire buildings or lease units in buildings. And these buildings would be complete or very close to completed, at least 90% complete. Selected sites would require the district, as I mentioned, find an outside property manager. And these units would be the fastest way to deliver housing to LACCD students. Class 3 is a more open call for partnership opportunities. It allows the development community to propose a public-private partnership with LACCD in a project that may not yet be in construction, but can serve LACCD students. The district would obtain beneficial ownership proportional to the amount it contributes to a project. So 50% contribution for 50% of the rooms. This program is a way to respond to creative approaches to meet more specialized housing needs, such as a group group living for foster youth, or family housing for students with dependents. This housing delivered through this method would be expected more like 2 to 4 years. And finally, the housing program will continue on the path to build dorm-style housing on district land. This would be through the more traditional P3 process, where the district issues an RFP for development teams that will design, build, finance, operate, and maintain the housing. So the team is working on additional due diligence for the sites that have been identified, and this process will take the longest, with units not likely coming online for 4 to 7 years. Next slide, please. So this slide just shows the timeline for both the development of this strategy to date and what is to come. We started in October 2024, and again, thank you all for your deep collaboration on this work and your time commitments. We presented the draft strategy to FEMPOC on November 20th, 2024, and since then, we moved on the committee's direction and developed the RFP to solicit properties and public-private partnership opportunities from the private sector that we just discussed. In the coming months, we'll be working closely with Dr. Sata, your executive leadership, and the PMO team to relaunch the conversations with CXUs to lease beds, to continue to learn from other community college districts to refine the on-campus dorm approach, to develop operational and financial models, to continue due diligence on the district sites and recommend which to move forward first. And we will continue to provide regular updates to FEMPOC and this board. With that, I'm going to pass it to Deputy Chancellor Albalopez.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have, so just for clarification's purposes, we already have an RFP on the street, which is related to properties and a property call, which was described by our team here. We have a second RFP also on the street related to support services, and I would like to invite Deputy Chancellor Albalopez to fill you in on that as well.
Thank you, Dr. Sada. So we just wanted to share that over the last few years, because of the work that this board put forward, we had our pilot program in which we had district-funded beds for 103 students across the district. We've analyzed that program. We are now institutionalizing short-term and emergency housing through our basic needs centers. And so the RFP is out now to bring in a wide breadth of providers to offer services that can be contracted specifically between the college and the provider to address potentially parents, individuals that are veterans. So we're looking to expand that bench. And so we're really excited for that RFP to kind of dovetail into the work that's taking place through the bond project. And our colleges will have better control over how they meet the needs for their students and their basic needs.
I think the next slide is our last slide. Yeah. Okay. So we'd like to invite questions, but before we do that, I just wanted to give you a little bit more information about the RFP. We've actually had 3 pre-qualification conferences. We've had over 100 attendees at those conferences. We're really excited. It seems that there is a buzz out there in the development community and definite interest. We'll see what we get. We don't know yet, but we are moving forward there. As Dr. Albalopez shared with you, there's a student services or support services RFP on the street. And as was shared in that schedule, you can see that we're still in the process of developing a potential RFP to do a full P3 model to create a dorm at one of our campuses. And we are staying on top of that and feel that in coming months, we'll be able to report out more about that. So we are completely active in this. And also want to share with you that our presidents from the various areas, Dr. Monte Perez has already started to set up a meeting with our partners at Cal State LA. Dr. Gribbins is setting up a meeting up in Cal State Northridge, and Dr. Dorado is going to work with us to set up a meeting with our partners potentially at Cal State Dominguez Hills. So we're looking for exploring all avenues. Obviously, those types of partnerships could be very advantageous because, you know, the CSUs already know how to run dorms. And so that could also be a very fast way to deliver housing for our students. And with that, we'll take your questions. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. We'll take questions starting on that side. Trustee Veras, do you have any questions?
I do. Well, one comment, one question here. We've been working on housing for a long time in the district in various forms and shapes. I'm curious to know what the sort of documents, RFQs, the sort of people that have been in queue and process through the various iterations of the conversation of housing. Where does all that go, and how does it get considered or incorporated or not, or canceled, or what? I mean, I assume we have some qualified bench that existed for a little bit, but where do those things go, and what's the learned lesson from if it's not to be incorporated, to understand from that experience?
Yeah, just to make sure I understand the question. So the previous work that was done on the 3 sites, yes. So we have all of that work, and we are still looking at that, and that is going into our analysis for what we do once we select a campus. And to be clear, we are really just focusing on those 3 campuses where the work was already done, and where we have diagrams of some potential projects. And once we go through the process that Beacon Rose team here is leading to select a site, we will then pull that information in and revise it as necessary. So that work is not for not NAU-GHT. We will be using it and utilizing it.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you for the question.
The comments, and couple comments then. One, I really appreciate it. When the team reached out and interviewed us all, and I'm sure interviewed a lot of people in this district as well. One of the groups I was particularly high on, and I thought was well represented in the conversation here, was foster youth. I say that partially because there's so much there's been so much advocacy over the years at the state, at the county, even at the city level. Frankly, we have supervisors and even a mayor that has spent quite a bit of their career finding ways to support and help the foster youth community that's out there. We've also, I think, had high marks. I think the 873 is not necessarily a high mark for us. We've had other times when we've had many more foster youth. And so I think, connecting there with service providers is important, and I think works really well. But we also have built-in infrastructure, at least. We have our Guardian program, Guardian Scholars program, and we have other things. So it's also nice to see in the target populations is if they can also link with outside providers, internal programs that exist as well. There may be a space as well in this conversation to talk about sort of justice impacted youth. I know at least one of our campuses has quite a big program. I mentioned some nearly 200 students that they're working with that have been connected and impacted out of the county justice system. So I think sort of that piece wasn't sort of in a bigger picture there, but there are, I know one foundation, for example, Amity, has been really great about trying to be helpful in those areas, and they work really well with several of our colleges. But if that's one area that potentially could be another explore area, sometimes there's overlap with foster, and sometimes it's their own spaces. The last comment is, I think we have an awareness that we're going to have a window in 2028 where a lot of people are going to be here from all over the world. And so sometimes I think the housing that we're focused on may be very programmatic, but there also may be a window of potential housing of athletes, for example. And I know beyond the Olympic villages and stuff like that, many of, and I was in a meeting with the LA 28 committee, and they commented how for at least the month of August and maybe even July, there are countries that have made it their practice to come and like literally rent out entire college facilities. And so in some senses, if there's some thought that might be of value to generate some inflow in a quick window that can actually help positively deal with the fact that our target populations are not necessarily, to be made a ton of money. We want to be sort of revenue neutral in a sense. I appreciate that as part of the conversation, but there may be a small window to be revenue positive in the near future if it sort of times well, and if it sort of fits, especially with campuses with athletics, where the athletes may want to train for a window. And so I know what exists isn't sufficient, but there is a conversation. And I understand a few colleges have already been reached out to by delegations, country delegations, where they're taking tours and visits. And so to have sort of the potential of housing connected to there might be something that's smart and connective. So
We appreciate those comments, Trustee Bettis. And I do want to let you know that several members of our team did participate in a workshop that was sponsored by the Olympics 28 committee, and they shared some of that and the creation of a list. So we will do the work there and connect the appropriate parties as necessary. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Great. Trustee Bella?
Well, first of all, I commend you, Dr. Sata, the PMO team, and our consultants for really putting this together very quickly. I have to say that I'm very impressed with how somehow no one got left out. So if you're a college president, you want to get creative on the way you want to do student housing, you've got 4 or 5 choices here, 2 or 3 RFPs coming out. You know, Dr. Lopez, thank you so much for all your help with the interim housing pilot. It's grown very successful. Yet another victory for LACCD and the way we approach housing and security for our students. More than ever, fire displacement, economy, we're priced out. This is very, very important to me. I know it's important to our colleagues. We have to be fully behind this as trustees. We can't, we have to fill the gaps. You know, we have to, in my committee, you know, last time I had Maria Veloz look at any housing bill, you know, that's gonna help us or not. And I think we're coming to that kind of discussion. We're advocating with our student trustees statewide. We're advocating with our negotiating units. We're advocating for really our students to have the opportunity and the option. You know, it's no longer about if people are going to be housing insecure. It's like, what can we do to help? And these are the choices. So I really want to commend you on that. Would really appreciate when it's all a little bit more cooked, that we do go, Chancellor, you know, out into the public, announce the various efforts, all of the different RFPs that were out, are coming out, all of the, you know, to not just to give praise to LACC. I don't really want to take that approach. I really just want to inform the public that, you know, we are going to move into this direction. So, you know, again, very, very appreciative of all the hard work that has been done. I know it's not easy. It's Trustee Veras mentioned it's been a while, but I think finally, I think there's some light here. And I do want to just focus on my colleagues on the board understanding that in everything, there's going to be risk, you know, in everything. And I think this one is worth it because I do believe with Dr. Sata's leadership, the Chancellor, our consultants, I think that we're going to mitigate that liability. Other colleges are doing it right now as well throughout the state. They're figuring it out. And we're learning that, you know, there is not going to be that huge liability that we're thinking about because there's just so many other ways that we could fund this. You mentioned international students. We mentioned block grants. We're mentioning all sorts of various factors that can really make sure the district is whole, because that is obviously a concern of our colleagues, of mine, that we don't encroach into the general fund, that we continue to be, this is financially stable. So again, thank you all so much. Really appreciate the presentation. It was very well done. Thank you.
Trustee Hoffman?
Thank you. And thank you so much for the presentation. I think my colleague, Trustee Vera, said we've seen a lot of these presentations. I've been on the board for 10 years, almost a little over 10 years, and we've had a lot of housing presentations. I think, and thank you for going through the different groups of students and kind of talking that through with us. But I do want to know, what is the problem that we are trying to solve? So are we solving a density problem now because of the fires? Because what I heard you talking about market rate housing. And so the kinds of students that I'm very interested in helping, the kinds of students that need us the most, are not going to be able to pay market rate. When you talk about international students, it's great. I love having international students, but there's been a decline in the international student population. And so I don't know that we could rely on international students to pay market rate for housing. Even when I look at affordable housing projects, and there have been a couple that have been built recently, and there's a couple in the Valley, like the monthly rent on an affordable apartment is, to me, like still exorbitant. And I don't think our students are able to afford that. I like the idea of focusing on foster youth. I work with foster youth. I work at another college campus. That is a really vulnerable population, and they absolutely do not have any stable housing, and their housing changes overnight from, you know, week to week. And so I feel like I feel like we should look at what problem are we trying to solve and pick one group or two groups and start with a project that focuses on those students. I mean, I know there's a lot of conversation, and Trustee Hernandez and I have had this conversation in the Basic Needs Committee about prioritizing students who are more full-time because, you know, we want to make sure that we're investing in the students are going to complete. But the students that probably need us the most are the ones that are only attending half-time. It's our student parents. You know, it's our students that are on public assistance that really can't, that have to also work, that can't be a full-time student. So I would like to get, I mean, this is great and it's a good beginning, but like we haven't looked at the numbers. We haven't looked at, this is the area that we want to start with. These are the colleges that we want to focus on. For the next presentation, I would like to see that. And I also do want to hear from our college presidents. I want to hear from the college presidents that are like kind of ready and gung-ho and already have great ideas and partnerships. Because I know that we do have some housing, we do have partnerships, and how can we leverage those partnerships? But I want to thank you for the presentation. I know I sound a little bit, I'm not trying to be negative. I think that housing is a huge issue, and I'm all about making sure that our students are housed and fed, but I want to make sure that we're doing it in a thoughtful way, because at the end of the day, you know, we're a community college. We still have to focus on our mission, which is to educate and graduate and transfer and make sure students are ready for the workforce.
We
Thank you.
appreciate those comments very much,
Yeah.
Trustee Hoffman.
And I appreciate you being here, Dr. Sada. Really, really appreciate your leadership. Thank you.
I don't have any questions at the moment. I think just generally speaking, I'm pretty excited about the presentation as well as the comments and the expertise of my board colleagues. I think we have a really robust group of professionals and experts that can make me feel more comfortable about this process. It's pretty foreign for me, but I think my main concern was also the student services component and ensuring that our students are able to get in and get out in an efficient, and successful timeframe. And so I think for now, we'll see what the student services RFP looks like and those types of things to kind of put the pieces together. But I think we went with this like big, open, scary, unknown canvas, and we're slowly moving our parts together to actually create something. And it's really exciting because it looks very thoughtful. And I just really appreciate all the outreach that you've done to ensure that we're doing right by our campus community. So thank you.
Thank you. And I do want to just, if I can quickly say, it really has been a team effort. All of us, all your administration here, particular support from Deputy Chancellor Alba Lopez and helping us crack that nut around how we operate it, right? We can build it in 4 years, we like to say, but we'll be operating it for 40. So we're conscious of that.
Thank you. Trustee Henderson?
I don't have any questions. I just want to say thank you. This shows that you understood the assignment. You came back to us with a breadth of opportunities. You know, you hit every nail on its head. I'm most pleased that you are looking at how we could partner with the CSUs and utilize a lot of their unused housing, which I think would be very beneficial in terms of short-term need if we can get in there. But just, thank you. Don't want to repeat what has been said, but thank you for the work on this. I think this puts us in a really great position to really move forward and be relevant and mindful of who we are supporting and how. Thank you.
Student trustee?
Yes, I'd also like to thank you all for your collaboration and your work. This is a great project and obviously something that is needed today. But as much as I love the look of the menu, I'm a person that likes the meal. But I have a question about the UC and the Cal States. Oftentimes, as the only student probably in this room, I know that they don't often have a lot of open, like a lot of vacancies. There's often a wait list. So are you talking about building additional units on their property exclusively for LACCD? Because oftentimes it's a wait list for housing, not just open availability for, that's one question. And then also we mentioned foster care students and student parents, but have we figured out like a focus on who the priority residents would be? And who would be in charge and ensure that there's an unbiased application process?
If I may answer the first question,
Yeah, yeah.
Trustee Bayham. So with regard to the CSU system and possibly the UCs as well, it's kind of campus by campus, to be honest. And we're going to go meet with those presidents. For example, we understand that they may have extra capacity at Cal State LA. We don't know the extent of it. We're not sure, of the details, but we'd like to go explore that. So that's really the mode that we're still in. We're still going out and seeking that input. We've heard from some of the other CSUs that they may be looking for a capital contribution, or we, contribute to the construction of a new project on their campuses. And, we can leverage, their knowledge of how to operate a dorm, right? So it could be all of the above, and we'll certainly keep you posted as we learn more after we start to take and have some of these discussions with our CSU and Cal State. And frankly, even the 4 years, we're trying to schedule a meeting with USC as well, just to learn as much as we can. So we'll keep you posted. Second question, I'll pass to you if you want to take a step of or the application process. Yeah, you want to maybe take that?
So we've had some internal discussions regarding priorities, but we haven't fully developed any of that out yet. We were just speaking with our partners at the beginning of the meeting, and it's kind of the next step where we're going to start to meet and kind of flesh that out. I appreciate the part about the unbiased component. Most of these projects will be run by a third party in partnership with the district, and so we'll keep that on mind.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you so much. Obviously this is the second or third time I've seen this presentation, but I just think, again, just to echo some of my colleagues, you've done such an incredible job of bringing in all these components. It's really, really difficult. You mentioned your purpose is we want to support our students in their ability to meet their educational goals, but we also want to be cost neutral, and we don't want this to, dip into the general fund. That's really, really hard. Like operate, even if we have bond dollars to build our housing, operating and maintaining housing takes resources and money. So I really love how you guys talked about the pollination of, if we're going to serve our most vulnerable students, we got to figure out a way where then we can also utilize some of our students that have the ability to pay market rates so that they can subsidize it, because we can't provide housing to anybody if we don't have the resources to be able to do that. So I think that is good. It's obviously much easier said than done. So devil's in the details on that. And I'm really glad that we have our consultant team here who can really help us, figure that out. I had a few questions. So the class 3 that you were talking about, that is the, for lack of a better word, that's the Innovative Partnerships RFP. And that RFP is already out, right?
Class 3 is the third leg of that single RFP. So the single RFP is seeking properties to both purchase, buy, and then also any innovative ideas that the community developers and others may have out there.
Okay. So knowing that we have this pot of money with 500 million, we have this, we have the call for properties, and then we have the third leg of the RFP out, and we are intending to have some sort of on-campus P3 come out in the future. How are we allocating funds? Like, I'm assuming that, that's out to bid. We'll get, that will go through the process. You'll come back to us to approve, an awardee. How do we know, like, how are we have a finite amount of resources, right? So like, how are we allocating dollars to making sure that we've got everything, we're doing everything we need to do to get all of this stuff done, right?
So part of the RFP review process is exactly that, Trustee Hernandez, to really understand the financial implications, right, of the different classes. So as we have put out the RFP for the acquisition or the master lease opportunities, right, we're going to be getting responses back from the market, right? And there's an evaluation matrix that the team is developing at this current moment to figure out, like, how do people score, right, based on their submissions. That's one. So there's an opportunity to buy properties, lease properties, and then now this innovative housing partnership program to say, if there is a developer or a sponsor in town to say, hey, I really need a partner such as the community college district because we're like-minded and we're mission-driven, right? And so is there an opportunity for the district to potentially co-partner with this entity in the open market to say, hey, maybe you invest 25% of your capital of the project's capital into the project, right? And in return, you'll get 25% back of the units or beds, right? And so we're currently in the process of figuring out how to actually do that scoring, right? And so rest assured, that's definitely top of mind for ourselves, for VC Gordon, right, who's the CFO of the district. We're intimately working, right, within the context of the team on the on-campus student housing program, right? That's also a TBD RFP that's going to go out to the street, right? And we're going to be soliciting input and advice based on the analysis that the team does. And so, as you know, we're going to be trying to select the site for the on-campus student housing program. Once that's done, and through that journey, we'll also understand what the financial implications are for building the on-campus student housing. And so there are multiple work streams currently underway, right? And so I would just ask for a little bit of grace, right? A little bit more patience, and we'll get to that, right? And so rest assured, we are trying to figure out how is it going to be cost neutral at the very best. How do we actually make sure that by increasing enrollment potentially, right, we're getting more apportionment revenue from the state, right? Could that also reflect better, right, as we're thinking through some of these larger capital programs?
That's great. And I really appreciate that you guys are able to walk and shoot them at the same time. That being said, what is the timeline for that RFP on campus?
Responses are due, for the on-campus.
On campus.
Yeah, so we're working through that. I would say that what this is March, so I don't know. I don't want to give you a date right now, but within 6 months, we'll probably be ready to.
Okay, but in 6 months. I want to hold you to it. It's on the record. In 6 months. I mean, I'm pushing for this because and you know, obviously if I had my way, it'd be less than 6 months, but yes. So within 6 months?
Sure.
It's been a long time, as our colleagues have said. This could go on for years, you know, so we want to make sure that we get this through. The other thing that I just wanted to highlight, because I'm very excited that the RFP came out, and thank you all for working so hard to get that first part out. I mean, I know it takes a ton of work. I didn't know that it was out until, you know, I think I heard from actually the consultants that it was out. So I don't know what that scope looks like. And in my very short time of being here, you know, I understand as a trustee, once an RFP is out, you know, as a trustee, we can't be involved in that process. So if we're not able to weigh in on the scope in the front end, we're forced to weigh in on the scope of that RFP on the back end, when we have already gone through a lengthy process and a costly process of putting out an RFP. You know, outside entities and partners have already put a lot of money into bidding. And if we don't like the end result because we didn't even really know what we put out to bid, and we scrap that RFP, that wastes everyone's time. And it really, I mean, to be frank, diminishes the credibility of the district. And unfortunately, time and time again, we have seen RFP processes go out, come back in, and get scrapped. And that's not what we want our reputation to be. And so what I'd like to propose is for the, you know, the RFPs that are slated to come out down the road, I'd really, and I know this has been brought up by other trustees too, would like the scope to come back to the board. So we are all very aware of what we are asking people to bid on, so that it can be successful, right? Because I would hate for us to award someone in that class 3 RFP and it come back to the board and someone on here say, well, I didn't know that we were doing that. I don't want to do it that way. I don't think we should spend our dollars that way. And then all of a sudden we have a failed RFP. So that's just what I would ask for the next sort of phases, when we have some more RFPs, that we really have a good understanding at the board level of what that scope looks like. My understanding also is that was proposed perhaps in that RFP is very different once it actually goes through legal and actually goes out on Planet Bids. And so we need to have that understanding too, because if it's very different than what we're getting presented, the actual document that goes out, you know, we want to make sure we're setting ourselves up for success. So that's just my one ask, that we be able to do that. I know spoke to the Chancellor already about that. And I love what Trustee Vela was saying also about, let's get it out there that the district's doing all of these amazing things around housing. You know, I do want the general public to know that we're doing this and we're really focusing on foster youth, and we really want to, you know, solve for that challenge. And so would love to, see if we can figure out a way to put something together around that.
Yeah, so I think I'm hearing in there a little bit more communication in terms of some of the things that we're working on. I'll take responsibility for that and work with the chancellor on appropriate means to do that.
Yeah, and I'm
Thank
sure
you.
it's just a process issue, right? Like, I
Absolutely.
mean, we obviously want to make sure that we're not being inappropriate and meddling too much into the RFP. It's, within the legal confines of what we can do, but I think we can definitely weigh in on the scope.
Totally hear what you're saying. Thank you.
And also heard of marketing as well.
Yes.
Getting more marketing out in terms of letting the public know what we're doing, and we can work with the team to make sure that the information is out there. Thank you.
And
Oh, yeah.
Vice President Hernandez, I think one of the things that we did talk about last time is having at our committees and even our ad hoc committees to have that discussion for potentially what before also a request for proposal goes out, what it's gonna entail and what's gonna be in it. So I think we should continue that tradition. And then, because I kind of like what also Trustee Hoffman said is that, we could get some good news because you're out there and you're gonna get responses, right? And so you might come back with some good news that's like, hey, we had someone who's posing for this community or this specific, student population. And so if they come back here, for our input, it would be very helpful, I think. And at that point, maybe even through your committee at FinPOC. So anyway,
Yeah.
just ideas. I know we've dealt with it before.
And I fully understand I'm asking you to speed up, but then also come back and check in with us. So I know that.
Yeah,
there's,
speed
like,
up and check
tall-
in and go back. No, I'm kidding.
Unbelievable.
No
But thank you
problem.
so much. You excellent work, and I'm really, really excited for everything you're doing. Any other comments? Great. Okay. The committee of the whole is now adjourned. I'm transferring the gavel back to President Eno to reconvene the regular board meeting.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Exciting. So to reconvene, the regular board meeting will now reconvene. May I have a roll call, please, Lupe?
Trustee Henderson,
Here.
trustee Hernandez,
Here.
trustee Hoffman,
Here.
trustee Eno,
Here.
trustee Villa,
Here.
trustee Vettis, student trustee Bayham.
Present.
Thank you.
And I would like to acknowledge and thank VP Hernandez for all of her work in regards to this housing. It's been a lot. And I know there's been a lot of unknowns and foreign things that you've been able to really get to know. And I feel very reassured that you have been leading this home. So thank you so much. So I would now like to review combined consent calendar L1 through X8. These items include consent calendar for human resources, academic affairs, student services, budget and finance, business and facilities. May I have a motion and a second to adopt combined consent calendar for items L1? Oh, yes.
Do you want to pull items for discussion before or after motion is made? I don't necessarily want to pull it not for a vote. I want to pull it for discussion.
Sure.
So do you want to do the motion in a second, or how do we do that?
So I think
In a while.
once we motion and we second, then there are items that we can pull for additional information.
Right. I'll move to approve consent.
Moved by Hoffman. Second by Eno.
Yes.
Okay, and then which item would you like additional information on?
I would like additional information. I think it's M1. Yeah. Do you want to do that now?
Were there any others? We'll
Yeah.
see if anyone else has any other items that they wanted to pull for separate discussion. No? So just item M1, which is up there.
So I'm really excited that we have a class around ethics of artificial intelligence. So I just have a couple questions about the course. Number one is, did we determine, or how is it determined that it goes, and I'm looking at you, Angela, into the philosophy department? And then do we have a certificate or degree around AI yet? Or is this just a standalone course? Because I would be very interested in seeing a whole program around artificial intelligence. And I don't know who wants to answer the question, if it's Dr.
Dr.
Gribbins.
Javeri, yeah, and Dr. We actually, also just as a side note, there was a summit, an AI cybersecurity summit that Valley College hosted with their faculty and the Cal State system. It was really.
Did you go?
I did go.
Oh, good.
It was really, yeah, I learned a lot.
Why don't we start with, do you want President Gribbins and then followed
Sure.
by, JS President Chaverri?
Thank you.
Since this is a Valley class, and then.
It's a lot of statewide information, but I'm just curious as to what we're doing as a district in addition to what you're doing at Valley. Thank you, Dr. Gribbins.
I was excited that you referred it over to Angela first.
Sorry.
So I missed it all in, but come on up, we'll do it together. I can make some comments. I welcome the participation of my colleague here, but I can make some general comments that this area is one that's of keen interest to our faculty. Thank you for mentioning the cybersecurity conference. Obviously, AI and cybersecurity are now 100% intertwined, and a lot of this space is quickly evolving. We are developing a whole bunch of courses in this space, and our faculty are doing an amazing job with this rapid evolution. But your question about the placement in philosophy, let me first see what Angela, refer that to Angela.
Great, thank you.
My assumption, and not being terribly familiar with the actual outline, is that it's an ethics course. So usually ethics courses go in the discipline of philosophy. But I did want to also mention that, and I forgot to do it during my address, that the District Academic Senate is forming an AI task force. We're in the process of doing that. And I put out a call about a week ago, and we had over 60 people interested in participating. So this is an area where there's a lot of interest. We know this is moving very quickly. We want to look not only at, our board policies and administrative procedures and make recommendations in this area, but also at our academic offerings, as well as professional development for faculty and sharing best practices. So we expect that to be off the ground very soon. We're finalizing the list of participants, but we recognize that this is an area that is evolving very, very rapidly, and it's important for us to have these conversations. So thank you for the question.
Thank you.
One thing I might add to in this space, and again, not cybersecurity and AI together, our faculty are looking at non-credit opportunities, credit certificates, and then ultimately, I'm sure we're going to see credit degree programs.
Thank you. And I'm really excited to see that we're looking at like the academic offerings side of AI, because I think a lot of colleges and districts are reacting to the, what are students doing in our classes with AI and the sort of ethics of the cheating component, if you want to call it that. But I'm really very interested in how can we prepare our students for the jobs of the future, and this is going to be the future. So I would love to see degrees and certificates built around AI. And if it's in philosophy, I think that's amazing. My son was a philosophy major, and they need jobs. Just saying. But thank you.
Great. Okay, with that said, you don't need to pull it, right?
Yeah, I just wanted more information.
No, we're good there. So now I think we do have a motion and a second to adopt the combined consent calendar for L1 through X8. We got a motion and a second. So may I have a roll call, please, Lupe?
Student Trustee Bayham's advisory vote.
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Henderson,
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez,
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman,
Yes.
Trustee Eno,
Yes.
Trustee Vela,
Yes.
Trustee Vettis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Now on to item Y, business items Y1 through Y9. May I have a motion and a second to adopt business items Y1 through Y9?
So moved.
Yeah.
Second.
Moved by Hoffman, second by Hernandez. So we will now discuss items that require additional information. I do know that item Y2 Chancellor, could you please give us an update to the RFP for the PMO?
Thank you for this. Yes, just a brief update. This is again an extension of Jacob's. Contract is for 3 months with 3 additional months of extension. In terms of the actual RFP for the PMO, the RFP is already out on the street, and the timeline is that we anticipate being able to bring to the board a final contract for approval around June the 30th. We were giving ourselves 3 additional months in the event needed, but we don't anticipate that will be necessary. All things considered, we should be bringing this item to the board for a final approval June of this year rather. So that's the latest update that we have.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other items that would require additional information?
I have a question.
Please.
On the side.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with the extension because obviously it's clear there, but from the standpoint of this is we've had 2 failed RFPs. Is there a comment to make for the record to the public to ensure that our RFP process will have integrity in it and that people won't waste their time, effort, or money in these proposals? Because some of these RFP proposals can cost tens of thousands of dollars to put, besides the fact that we're asking them to hold staff on in these proposals, which can sometimes be very challenging. But, from the standpoint of ensuring that, and I'm going to say this as a Board of Trustee member, I didn't get a whole bunch of communication on this until the legal letters started coming in with certain advising here. But we went through a window with not a lot of clear direction and understanding. So from the standpoint of, vendors potentially applying and ensuring that, whether it's the incumbent or others, that the process is going to be held with high integrity and high standards, and that it was not going to be sort of a wasted effort, as we've had 2 cancellations prior to this. And like I said, I have no problem with what's been proposed. And I think, from the standpoint of the current PMO, they've been doing a very good job, but there's something to the process that I wanted to just make sure that we can at least acknowledge and not, dismiss that hasn't happened over the last year and a half.
Thank you for that comment, Trustee Vettis. We have vetted the 2 prior processes against this particular process. We feel very confident that all matters have been addressed relative to this particular RFP. And we feel very confident that the process will yield a successful approval of a recommendation to the board. I do believe that prior issues with the 2 PMOs have been addressed. They have been considered and factor into this particular PMO. And again, we feel very confident with letting folks know that this process should yield a successful contract to the board in June.
And how are you going to communicate that to the public at large to know that their application or their participation in the RFP will not be in vain, and they should bring us their first class proposals?
Yeah, let me turn it over to Vice Chancellor Sata if you want to add on this particular piece.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for the question, Trustee Vettis. I think, first of all, we have our mandatory pre-qualification meetings coming up. And of course, all of the documentation around inappropriate contact and communication is in the RFP. We'll put an emphasis on that as well, just to ensure that, everybody knows what the rules are. I think, we've been very careful to, ensure that as the Chancellor said, all the issues that we learned from previously have been addressed. And, we're working very closely with OGC and others to ensure, a very proper process. And of course, with our own purchasing department, who are, often the gatekeepers of all this material. So, all I can do is say that we're going to do everything we can to assure the vendors who are interested that, we're going to bring this one home for them and really for us as an institution.
General Counsel, I'm taking this because this is directly related to this extension happens and facilitates the RFP. So I wanted to put that in the context. I know it's not, the RFP isn't agendized, but sometimes, like I said, we just had this discussion on housing. We, are informed after the fact at times, but we're doing this extension because of failed RFPs, and the timing of what we're asked to review is to facilitate the next window of an RFP coming forward. I just want to be sure that as we do this extension, it's sufficient, and 2, that we address the issues that we've had in the past So that's where I'm taking my liberties there.
And I completely appreciate that. We're not having a conversation on the RFP. There was just a question relative to why we have this particular extension, why we've built in the flexibility, and also what has been our process leading up to, when we do issue. So I think those points are well made, as the Chancellor indicated, are taken into consideration. And I think this is being looked at by the highest levels of the executive team to ensure that.
Yeah, because
when
we should
come
have had
back.
a contract approval a couple months ago, as
correct.
opposed to an extension
Yeah.
that we're discussing now. And that's
So-
for the public. I mean, I want to be wary, and state for the record, obviously at the board level, we expect high level conduct and a process that respects not only the vendors that are applying, but respects the taxpayer dollar too.
So then what happens in June? So by us approving this contract extension, that triggers the RFP to be, is the RFP out? Okay. So can somebody address what happens when we get to June?
Yeah,
It won't be
so
up for 3 months.
of course, Trustee Hoffman, yes, so we expect that the RFP process will be completed by June, and we will be able to bring a successful vendor here and a contract for your approval. Should we need to go further, we've asked for for the delegation of authority to the Chancellor to approve 3 one-month extensions if we can't bring it home for any reason, if the negotiations drag out, for example. But we anticipate being able to finish this up in June and bring a contract for your approval on June 11th.
Okay, so not to belabor the issue, but I think when the RFP went out, I don't know how long ago. I mean, we've been doing this for over a year now. And so you're confident that in 3 months, we're now gonna know, and you're going out with a new RFP, and in 3 months, we're gonna have a new PMO? I'm just curious, like, it hasn't happened that way in the past, so I'm just curious as to what's changed and how that timeline is gonna be sped up when in the past it's taken more than a year.
The current version of the PMO, of the PMO RFP was issued on February 20th. So it is on the street at this point in time. And we are working as a very tight, very small team to move the process along very expeditiously. And we're going to do the best we can. And we have confidence that, we've learned from our previous challenges, and we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you.
Any other further questions? Were there any other items in this Y1 through Y9 that needed further discussion? No. Okay. Lupe, can I have roll call, please?
Yes. Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote?
Yes.
Trustee Henderson?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez?
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman?
Yes.
Trustee Eno?
Yes.
Trustee Vella? Trustee Vettis?
Yes.
Thank you.
So now facility items Z1 through Z20. May I have a motion and a second to adopt the facility items?
So moved.
So moved by Hernandez. I can second, Chancellor Rahman or any of the trustees, do we have any disclosure? No, we don't have any disclosures.
None.
Great. Any discussion? No? Lupe, can I have a roll call, please?
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote? Trustee Henderson?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez? Trustee Hoffman?
Yes.
Trustee Eno?
Yes.
Trustee Vella? Trustee Vettis?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next is item AA, recommendations from the Chancellor, AA1 through AA2. Chancellor, would you please provide a brief explanation on the next 2 action items?
Thank you, Madam President. These 2 particular board policies were brought to you as first read last month. And this is board policy 425 regarding the philosophy and criteria for associate degrees and general education. Second one is 4100. This is the graduation requirements for degrees and certificates, also coming forward for second reading. Again, you reviewed these last month, and we're asking now for official approval of board policies.
Perfect. Can I get a motion and a second for item AA1?
So moved.
Moved by Hernandez. I can second. Eno, any discussion? No. Roll call, please, Lupe.
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote?
Yes.
Trustee Henderson?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez?
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman?
Yes.
Trustee Eno,
Yes.
trustee Vella, trustee Vettis.
Yes.
For the graduation requirement, item AA2, can I have a motion and a second? So moved by Hernandez. I can second. Eno, any discussion regarding this one? Looks like no. Lupe, can I have a roll call, please?
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote,
Yes.
trustee Henderson,
Yes.
trustee Hernandez,
Yes.
trustee Hoffman,
Yes.
trustee Eno,
Yes.
trustee Vella,
Yes.
trustee Vettis.
Yes.
Great. So item BB, the matter is requiring a supermajority vote. This is an emergency resolution for the rental of a temporary chiller at Central Plant Building for ELAC at a cost of 100,000, 15, and 120. We will need 6 affirmative votes for this one. Can I get a motion and a second for item BB1?
Move to approve, but can we just get a quick explanation as to why it's needed? Thanks.
President Perez? Oh, can I get a second? Moved by Hoffman, second by Eno. President Perez?
Yes, trustee Eno and board. Chancellor, this was an emergency that had happened in 2023. Allocation was made to get it fixed because of the health and safety issues. And now this is a resolution to allow that contract to be paid. So that's what it is. Thank you.
Great. Any further questions or follow-up?
Sorry, not on this item, but there was a clarification I wanted to make on a previous vote we just did.
Sure. We'll close this one out
Yes,
first.
please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Trustee Hoffman, are you good? Any follow-up questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, great. No disclosures. So Lupe, could we get a roll call, please?
Student trustee Bayham's advisory vote,
Yes.
trustee Henderson,
Yes.
trustee Hernandez,
Yes.
trustee Hoffman,
Yes.
trustee Eno,
Yes.
trustee Vella,
Yes.
trustee Vettis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Circle back to,
Yeah.
please.
Trustee, I apologize, and I meant to actually raise this as a comment. We did approve as facilities item. What is it? Z 18 and 19. These resolutions only relate to Surplus Land Act and not necessarily the action of sale or the eminent domain action that LAWA has taken. And it's public. So, but is there something to note for the record other than the fact that we're just saying that we don't believe they're subject to surplus land and it will be going through another process?
Sorry, I'm still old fashioned. I use paper. There were actually a series of 3 resolutions that related to this. One was dealing with, and we have counsel here as well. One was dealing with the CEQA component of this. One was dealing with the Surplus Land Act component of this, and one was dealing with the variance necessary. These particular matters required a majority vote, and they allow us, as we had indicated previously, to continue to move through the process. These were the necessary steps. The final step will be an actual item that is brought that will deal with the actual sale and those final terms. But we're very comfortable you have the information relative, and the letter that we received from LAWA is part of the public record relative to the entirety of the property, the amount that they are willing to pay, and the nature of the property and its as-is condition. So that is public. And so these are the 3 necessary steps to move forward.
Beyond agendizing it here in these particular items, obviously whenever there's a sale or an eminent domain process of any property that's public, I think it's important to engage the public to allow them to understand what it is that's happening, what's going on. And certainly when we're finding the exempt status here, there is a standing and existing law that talks about surplus housing or surplus land going into affordable housing. But as we go in this direction, I think at some point we'll have to communicate to our partners and in the colleges and our employees that this process is taking place, and we'll have another vote that comes forward that deals with the actual sales process, or whatever the process is based on next steps here. But these are first steps, and sometimes we vote on stuff very quickly, but But another agency has publicly agendized and had hearings on this related to the Los Angeles World Airports.
That is correct. And so, you know, the matters that are here are public as well as the information provided by the other government agency. So I completely understand that. And, you know, we'll obviously work and we really appreciate Dr. Santa's leadership. Also obviously have outside counsel here. We can do a more wholesome presentation as we get to that final stage and the final vote. I'm looking back to make sure that I haven't missed anything. I see shaking of heads that I haven't missed anything or nothing so terrible that they won't correct me after this is done. But of course, again, we appreciate that and we've obviously provided information to the board in terms of.
And when is this item?
This is now subject to negotiation. We believe it's going to take 2 to 3 months, but we will absolutely keep you apprised. There are still obviously negotiations that, you know, we will not discuss here, but there's a lot of public information relative to at least the broad parameters of how we're moving forward. And we will absolutely keep the board apprised and it will be agendized appropriately. Okay. And again, look to your leadership relative to if you want additional information, always happy to provide that. And again, I want to look back and make sure that we have covered what the trustee is asking. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So now we're moving on to item CC, notices, reports, and informatives. Board colleagues, there is no informative and there is 1 informative and 2 notices. No action is required at this time. For item DD, announcements and indications of future proposed actions by members of the Board of Trustees. Would any of my colleagues like to make any announcements or indicate future proposed actions? I can start off with Trustee Bayham. No? Trustee Henderson, anything? Trustee Hernandez? No. We do have an APITA meeting with the Chancellor on March 25th from 10 to 11 via Zoom. All are welcome. Trustee Hoffman?
I don't have any future agenda items or announcements, but I do just want to make a comment about today's meeting. I know it's, you know, easy, especially under this presidential administration, for us to sort of share our frustrations in not such a professional way. And I just want to, you know, let everyone know that as a board, we've worked really hard to bring civility back to this district and civility back to the boardroom. And I understand, and I'm not calling you out, President McKeever, I understand your frustration, but I would just ask that, you know, we have a lot of employees in this district, and to paint a broad stroke on something that, you know, the board hasn't actually been informed upon. I know you were frustrated, but I think it made others, and it certainly made us feel a little bit uncomfortable. And I get your frustration and I understand it, but I would just ask that we try really hard, because these times are really unprecedented and so crazy. And we witnessed last night, I don't know if you all watched the state of the, whatever it was called, but some just really awful behavior. And I would just ask that we all, even if we're frustrated, try to treat each other with as much respect as possible. And I feel you and I get your frustration and I want to acknowledge that, but I also want to make sure that we are still acting in a civil way, because for a lot of years it was, you know, difficult on this board. And we do have, and it's been mentioned several times, that now we have 4 women on the board, which is fabulous, but we are not the end all be all, solve every problem as much as we try. But I think if we all work together, we can all achieve what we need to achieve. And I just don't want to see a department that may or may not have, you have some frustrations with, the whole department sort of being called out at a board meeting. And I know that wasn't your intent. So I just, oh, okay, it was your intent. I just though had to say that, because I just really think, you know, we need to treat each other with respect, and I do hear you. So thank you.
Thank you. I did want to just talk about the workforce development branch. So we're going to have our first ever workforce development ad hoc committee made up of trustees, you know, right in time to ensure that our students are going to be able to compete with AI, cybersecurity, fire, nursing. So that meeting is going to be March 20th, and our Vice Chancellor, Jim Lancaster, is going to assist and put it all together. So look out for that. Lots of amazing discussions coming up with all of these relevant pieces. So thank you.
Very exciting. I'm looking forward to it, and thank you for your vision and leadership on that. I think every place that we've gone since, there's an emphasis on workforce and
Yeah,
what the community
and
colleges
can I
can do.
especially invite Ms. Echeverry? This is a special invite for you and for Mr. Hernandez.
Trustee Veras, do you have anything coming up? Sorry, in addition to the APITA meeting with the Chancellor, we're also doing a summit this year hosted at Harbor College, and that's going to be on Saturday, May 3rd. And it's going to be a half-day look at just trying to really identify the needs of the APITA community, Asian American, Pacifica, Desi American plus community. We want to be able to develop programming clubs and things like that. And thank you, Dr. Smith, for helping us a lot with all of that, and Harbor College too. Okay, so with that, let's see. Public comments. So we do have quite a bit of public comments. I would like to call the folks in person and on topic. So is Shore Zandie here? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Okay. If you would like, oh, I think. So you'll get 3 minutes on the item, and then they'll Lupe will keep time for you.
Okay, thank you. I have been working at. Okay. I have been working as an adjunct librarian at the district over 22 years. On November 2022, I had an open heart surgery. Therefore, I asked to use my sick leave. And they said, no, you don't have any sick leave. I said, each and every month, I get the quota statement all these years that I have, and I have never, ever used any sick leave or vacation, nothing. Therefore, they say, no, I filed a grievance over 2 years ago. Going back and forth, after over a year, they schedule an arbitration. Day before the arbitration, the union attorney sent me a message that showed we reached the offer from the district legal offered the settlement. And I agreed on because I want to get over. And it was October 2024. And then I haven't received anything to sign for the agreement or credited. The union attorney tried to reach the legal district. They have been ignoring him with no response. And I'm here asking you, what am I supposed to do? If I go and hire an attorney from outside, it would be more expensive for the district. I believe. That's my complaint.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we'll have Chancellor Roman follow up.
Follow up with you and President McKeever on this one. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to reread the First Amendment and Brown Act guarantee the member of the public the right to criticize a public employee or public official in the performance of their duties. However, speakers are encouraged to focus on their comments on issues relevant to the conduct of public business rather than on private, unrelated matters. Speakers are reminded that the Brown Act and First Amendment do not protect defamatory statements made which may be subject to speaker to personal liability. So with that, the next person we have is via Zoom. Romel Herrera, are you online?
He's not online.
Okay, then I'm gonna also move to Jason Peace-Copes. Is he in person? Yes.
Yes.
Relating to journalism, correct? That's your topic? Great. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Jason Piscopas, and I'm a three-time graduate of Los Angeles City College. In the past 11 years, I have also tutored, counseled, or otherwise aided well over 1,500 students across the 9 colleges. But today I've come here because of the near constant onslaught certain individuals at LACC have launched against the journalism department. In a time of fake news and Donald Trump, a school actively trying to destroy its own journalism program cannot be trusted. And considering the population of DEI students at that campus, I find their actions even more disturbing. It is for these reasons that I will no longer be referring students to LACC. If I cannot trust an institution, I cannot in good faith direct students to said institution. With VAMA hiring unqualified Fox News reporters to teach classes they shouldn't be teaching, with VAMA canceling classes for low enrollment without giving students a chance to enroll in the first place, with them hurting students academically because of whatever axe they have to grind with the journalism department, their honor, dignity, and reputation have plummeted in my eyes. I currently have 7 students who wanted to take the spring 2025 magazine class, but they were denied this opportunity because VAMA and LACC's administration canceled it at the beginning of the winter session for low enrollment. That class is only offered in the spring. My students want to know why they were denied the opportunity to take this class and to be published, a very difficult thing for students to do. That question is just another reason why I cannot, in good faith, keep referring students to City College. And my degrees, the 3 of them that hang on my wall, when I look at them, I no longer feel pride.
Thank you. Okay. So there are about 13 in regard to the journalism program that are spoken. So we'll just move through them all now. David Martin. And then next is Rhonda Guest in person, just so you know.
I never imagined I would see the day when communism would overtake our country and government, and yet it is. In every branch, from the highest to the lowest. For example, consider the administration at LACC. They have tried to suppress the paper multiple times, trampling students' rights to express themselves. The First Amendment ensures the right to freedom of speech and the press. Some, however, don't care about such rights. The Collegian is among the oldest college newspapers still in existence. We're not discussing a distant paper printed in some shack somewhere in a corner. We're talking about a publication that has won numerous awards over the past 95 years. The magazine has also won awards. However, some individuals have indefinitely postponed the release of the next magazine by introducing unnecessary bureaucracy. They even go so far as to withhold funds to prevent the paper from being printed. Can we truly live in a democratic society, especially when government officials remove our freedoms? We will not be stopped. We will fight whenever oppression rears its ugly head. We will fight for truth and justice. We will fight until victory is achieved.
Thank you. Rhonda Guest, are you here? Great. And then after that, we have Kenia King in person.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Rhonda Guest,
And I'm here today because I hope the board will listen to what I have to say. I've been here 3 times since I became the advisor to the Los Angeles City College Collegian. So in 18 years, I don't come every week or month or even year. I come when things are awry. Around December 11th, I sent a letter to the president and vice president of Los Angeles City College, the 2 highest instructional officers on the campus. I was alarmed because of 3 course cancellations. The magazine had been canceled without my knowledge. I found out by reviewing the course catalog or class schedule. And I understand that we have budgetary constraints now, that it's important that courses that do not have sufficient enrollment are canceled. But on the first day of class, February 10th, I found that we were canceled a very important class that's needed, an advanced course that was 3 students shy, was canceled by 4 o'clock. For the next 2 weeks, I watched other areas, other courses. I made a tally that were allowed to continue and were not threatened. I'm not upset with them. I think sometimes you have to allow students to find or their audience, or for instructors to find their audience. But this, something else is insidious, or it's just, I think, illegal. And that has to do with Title V. Our college canceled journalism 185 and 285. Those are directed studies. I don't get paid for those, but I do give the students attention. Those are very small courses. They canceled those classes only for journalism. I went to the class schedule because I sort of believe in documentation and what I read. The class schedule showed right at the top, art, 185, 285, and 385. And anthropology, 385, directed studies. These are important courses, but journalism is not allowed to have 185 and 285 any longer. I asked the president and the vice president in writing, and I said, you know, here's what's wrong with this. Why are we doing this in a budgetary, when we have budgetary constraints? I asked December 11th. I didn't get an answer until last week. Journalism seems to be very unpopular right now. And it's kind of a roller coaster. Some years we're popular, some years we're not.
If you
Oh,
could
is
wrap
that
up your
it?
comments, yeah.
Okay, some years we're not. But we owe something to our students. Our students are our clients, and you don't hurt the clients. What's happening now at City College is hurting the clients.
Thank you.
That's why I'm here.
Thank you. Kenia King. So next of their Zoom on this topic, we have Taylor Lowell. Andy Pitchards.
He's on.
Oh, yes.
Hi, I'm Andy Richards.
Great. Please, you have 3 minutes.
Great. So I've been listening very carefully to the meeting today, and one of the things that was said was the mission of the Los Angeles Community College District to educate, graduate, and prepare for the workforce. And I am here as an example of what can happen when you go through Los Angeles City College's journalism program. This Women's History Month, it is my honor to talk about that program, and Professor Guest at the helm of it. I am a Collegiate Advisory Board member, a former student of LACC, and a multiple award-winning Los Angeles Collegian and Collegian Times editor. I did not graduate because I already had a degree from another school, but I returned to school because I needed something. And I didn't know what I needed until it was offered to me by Professor Guest. I wandered into her classroom thinking I wanted to do a radio show, and I ended up learning how to be a print, broadcast, documentary filmmaker. I learned how to get advertising dollars and to conduct an oral history project, actually. We have honored our community with our work. We covered the Armenian centennial, and that community graced us with gifts and praise. We interviewed one of the last Tuskegee Airmen, Ted Lumpkin, on and on and on. I know time is short, so I want to get this all in. I'm going to speak personally because I am like proof of what this program does for people. So I came in, I learned all of those skills. I got to travel across the country to attend collegiate conferences and also to teach workshops with fellow editors. We have a longstanding partnership with the Los Angeles Press Club and the Hollywood Foreign Press. This opens doors for us. The Oscars were on last week. Guess what? I was on that red carpet interviewing international documentary filmmakers a few years ago because of my participation in the journalism program. I have interviewed Carl Bernstein. He was at our college giving a talk to the entire student journalism group. I have interviewed Morgan Freeman. We have won awards, multiple awards together individually. What has this done? It prepared us for the next step. For some of us, it was going directly into the workforce. For myself and others, it was to go on to continue our education at the graduate level. I was accepted to the University of California at Berkeley, their graduate program. And from there, I was recruited for a job. I'm in New Jersey right now for the job that I have now. And right out of the gate, I won 2 national awards at my job. Just proof positive that I was trained impeccably. I went from sharing a house with people to owning my own home. This is what the program does. It changes.
I'm sorry, your time's up.
And it gives opportunities that you cannot get elsewhere. And I wish I could go on, and I'll write a letter. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Next we have Jamarius Jordan.
Jamarius. Do I have to turn my camera on? I'm sorry, I'm in the middle.
You have 3 minutes.
Okay, well, hi, I was one of the students who was actually, I'm sorry?
I'll tell you when you have 30 seconds left.
Oh, okay. I was one of the students that was actually removed from the journalism class because I'm a non-journalism major. I'm actually a filmmaking student and a content creator, both on TikTok, YouTube, and just various other platforms. But before joining the journalism courses, a lot of what I had to make content about involved research, deep research on African American history regarding fashion and music, politics, and not being in the journalism course, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know that a lot of what I had to research involved not being as opinionated, but being factual, sticking to the facts, sticking to all the things that is actually true. And joining the journalism courses actually helped me refine my voice and helped me become a better writer, journalist, content creator, and even filmmaker because of what my professor Guest had to do and what she had to contribute to these courses and these courses all around. And I know that, like, for me, filmmaking is like my main thing, but journalism is actually an added bonus because of the research that goes into the stuff that I talk about and that I have to put out. I have to learn how to interview people. I have to learn how to properly communicate myself, which is something that I'm still struggling with because I get very nervous and angsty. So I believe that this course not only gives a voice to people who are scared to speak up about certain things, but it also empowers people to pursue their passions, even if it isn't journalism, completely and fully. And so, yeah, I just think that this course is really important all around, and these courses are really important all around, and I just would hate to see it.
Thank you. Next, there's John via Zoom.
Good morning. Hi. I'm here in I'm calling you from the Philippines, where it's very early in the morning. And I would not have done this had it been for the fact that the journalism program at LACC is outstanding. And my remarks are going to be very similar in a sense, to the first alum, Andy. I too won awards, multiple awards. I also earned a fellowship from the California Humanities because of the relationships and the work that Professor Guest started. I also hold a master's degree. And so I came back after retiring from 20 years in higher education in the CSU system to develop my journalistic skills because I wanted to write. And so I'm here in the Philippines writing a book about one of the most important events of the last century, the 1986 People Power Revolution, which inspired revolutions all over the country. And so if you need any reason to fall back on why we need an outstanding journalism program at LACC and why you shouldn't cut it, just think back to the State of the Union. We need honest reporting. And I'm living in a country right now, or temporarily writing this book. I'm living in this country in which press freedom, in which people are murdered for stories that they write. Our work is very, very important and central to democracy. So I just want to say that the program itself is outstanding. Professor Guest is an outstanding professor. She's fair. She treats everyone equally. She is the hardest working professor I've ever seen. She edits the newspaper with the editor at all hours of the night. I know because I was one of those. So it's her dedication is out, just in the stratosphere. I still call her for advice. It's just an outstanding program that probably is lacking a PR agency to promote it. But it is so central because it combines writing, it combines editing, it combines art, and so it can apply to so many majors. So it really needs it's like a sunflower that needs sunshine. It's a great program, and I urge you to maintain it and develop it. It is central to the university.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I next have Whitney Shepherd online. Angela Johnson.
Angela Johnson's on.
Yes, I'm here. Hello. Hi, hello. I'm currently at work, so I'm just going to try to be as quick as possible. I don't have an eloquent statement prepared, but I want to say that I'm a journalism student. I've been at LACC longer than I want to say, but it's been a safe haven for me to develop my journalism and writing skills. I want to say that I registered early for journalism 217, 218, and 219. I was dropped and didn't learn that I was dropped from those classes, I guess, for low enrollment until Professor Guest told me, so I wasn't notified of that. I think the actions of the visual and media arts department, the leadership, the chairman, and the dean are trying to stifle the student voice. The Collegian is 95 years old. It was established when LACC was founded. And I think just because of that respect, it's an award-winning student-run newspaper. It's the oldest student-run newspaper in the whole LACC district. And I think that what the VAMA leadership is doing is reprehensible. I think the fact that the leadership of the college is looking the other way and not supporting Professor Guest in her efforts to nurture and develop journalists. I think that is wrong. I think that deleting the class for the magazine 3 months before the semester starts is underhanded and deceitful. They did not give her a chance to get up the number. If it's about enrollment, they didn't give her an opportunity to get the enrollment up, and she wasn't on deadline, like the deadline hadn't even gotten there yet. I think that they deleted the magazine because they want to take that money and put it into some other courses within the VAMA department. So I believe that that's a misappropriation of funds because those funds were already earmarked for the Collegian Times Magazine, which is award-winning. I have been EIC for the magazine and for the newspaper, so it's a very fertile learning ground for me. I think what they have done is against policy for canceling classes before the deadline. You cancel a spring class, it's only offered in the spring, 3 months before the deadline. That's underhanded. Those are backdoor dealings.
30 seconds.
I have 30 seconds. Okay, I just want to say this is the student voice of the college, and I think that what they're doing, they're trying to choke out the student voice. They're trying to stifle the student voice, and I think that we cannot allow that to happen, especially in this day and time where press is under attack. Honest press is under attack. So there you go.
I next have Teresa Adams. Abel. Serena Sizaks.
Abel's here.
Oh, Abel's
Sorry. Hey, how you doing? Thank you so much. Good afternoon, leaders of the district. I'm incredibly inspired today because I'm hearing a lot of the student voices in support of the journalism program, and especially Rhonda Guess. I'm also just incredibly inspired by the leadership at LACC as well, because I know that they will do the right thing. My fellow East African there in a leadership position. My name is Abel Hapte-Georges. Again, I'm here to express my strong support for the journalism program at LACC. The program is actually more than just a class. It's a space where students of all backgrounds, you name it, young, old, black, white, are empowered to find their voice. And that's what happened to me. It's not just about, the critical thinking and the writing, but the curiosity and the confidence that was instilled. Before taking this course, I have to say, I had never written for a newspaper, but through this program, I really had the opportunity to write, to interview, and to experience what it's like to be a journalist. I felt incredibly supported in pursuing opportunities that I never really thought were possible. And also and secured and transferable across disciplines. Professor Guess, I just want to say especially, isn't just a teacher. She's a mentor, and she's on the ground with you. She challenges students not just to write, but to think. Her course goes beyond journalism in many ways. So at a time, as people have said, when journalism is under attack, now more than ever, we need these programs, especially for a district like ours, programs that teach students to seek the truth, and not only gain a strong foundation in journalism, but gain other skills as well. So I'm in strong support of this program. Please continue to support. I'm not even really sure why it's even being debated in this way. There may be reasons outside, but when it comes to Professor Guess and when it comes to what this program is able to offer, please listen to the student voice. Support student voices, support journalism. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I have next Serena Sizaks. And then John Williamson. No. And then Eleni Gasti. Eleni. I see you on Zoom. Can someone unmute
yourself, please? Unmute yourself.
You get 3 minutes and I'll tell you when you have 30 seconds.
Thank you so much. Greetings. I'm happy to see the Board of Trustees this afternoon. My name is Eleni Gastis, and I'm the co-president of the Journalism Association of Community Colleges, and I'm advisor to Peralta Community College District's only student-run publication, The Citizen, also an award-winning publication. I have also served in a capacity as Senate President at my district and have many years of experience in shared governance and a long-standing commitment to uplifting the students at California community colleges. I come to the board today out of an abundance of concern for LACC's journalism program, spawned by President Jebru's failure to respond to a letter that he and Board President Eno received from JACC and FIRE. It was a joint letter on January 31st. As a community college journalism organization that works to build understanding with administrators statewide, JACC believes that collegiality and a willingness to come to the table are imperative. And I really thank the trustee earlier that mentioned collegiality and collaboration. I have to say, it is pretty notable. Our organization has never been ignored like this. And I really want to echo that we would like to work with President Jebru to discuss how to best support students in this pivotal time for journalism. I think you've heard many panelists today who have talked to you about it already. And we, as JACC, want to assist with some of the concerning issues that we're hearing about. So class cancellations, First Amendment rights, viability studies, student access in general, and press access on the campuses. So we hope that your non-response does not mean that you are unwilling to work with us. We are here really anticipating a partnership with you and FIRE as well. We want to help you understand how to navigate students' rights. We want to truly make things better for everyone. And I think hearing some of the concerns, I hope some of the trustees' ears are perking up this afternoon. Journalism programs are an indispensable part in this pipeline of democracy that we are experiencing every single day. And that begins with education and empowerment. So once again, I'm here to ask formally for President Jebru to meet with us and representatives from FIRE. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, great. So that is all on this topic. So I'll go back to the top. Is Romel Herrera on Zoom?
No, he's not.
So then I have Dr. Christine Wright, who's in the audience. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christine Wright. I am a sociologist. I'm also a tenured faculty member and the faculty grievance rep at LA Southwest College. I wanted to come say this in person, but I do plan to also post them online and then send them to my contact at LA Times. So here I go. I want to start by acknowledging Interim Chancellor Roman and wish you strength and courage in this role. You'll definitely need it because there is a lot of mess to clean up in this district, and we all need you to be up to the task to ensure a brighter future for this district and the students we serve. For Women's History Month, I'd like to start with 2 quotations from courageous women. First, from Ida B. Wells Barnett, famous anti-lynching activist and writer. The way to right wrongs is to turn the light of truth upon them. And from the late, great Maya Angelou, courage is the most important of all virtues because without courage, you can't practice any other virtues consistently. Last time I spoke here, I outlined the reasons that I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. And for Women's History Month, I want to focus on my women colleagues who have been targeted, mistreated, harassed, emotionally and mentally abused, and have had their civil rights violated. And that's not just my opinion, it's documented. And I want to ask you, the Board of Trustees, what are you going to do about it? Talk is cheap, only actions matter. How do you celebrate Women's History Month, but allow many women employees to be treated so badly? And no one can claim they didn't know about these cases because I've seen the emails sent to you all and the Chancellor and board members, although I rarely see any responses given. And I know you're aware of all the arbitrations that are pending, and from my campus, a nearly tripling number of grievances filed this year compared to previous years. None of you should be surprised. None of this should be a surprise to anyone. Today, I am here in solidarity with Dr. Maisha Jones. Maisha has dedicated much of her life to LASC. She is from and lives in the community we serve. She attended LASC as a student and worked on campus as a student cadet, then became a classified employee in the financial aid office and an adjunct faculty member in sociology. She then applied and earned the full-time tenured position she has held for the last many years, and even helped serve as an acting dean because we've lost about 5 of them in the last 2 years. She has always been a positive voice on campus, solution-oriented, and a mentor and role model for our students. But despite this record of commitment to our campus, instead of providing her the unpaid leave she has contractual right to, she is being forced to resign. This is egregious, but there is an easy fix. Grant her her leave she requested.
Sorry, your time's
and
up.
talk to her about her emotional and mental distress she's been put through and why she needs this leave.
Thank you.
I'll post the rest online and, as I said, share with the press.
Thank you. So next we have Katrina Taylor, also on the same topic. She's online.
Hello and thank you. I am here. Hopefully y'all can hear me just fine. Good afternoon. I'm Katrina Taylor, tenure faculty at LASC. And I am here to express the deep disappointment of another miscarriage of justice, resulting in the tremendous loss of one of the most talented, intelligent, and dynamic educational leaders I have ever known. Since I arrived in 2016, one name has stood out on campus and abroad consistently: Maisha Jones. During our service as department chairs and later in her role as interim dean, I came to understand why. Her absolute love for LASC stands on a 20-plus year foundation of experience as a student, cadet, classified staff, and faculty. Dr. Jones has an incredible work ethic, is unwavering in her pursuit of justice, a strong advocate, and leads from the front with integrity. The breadth of her experience and depth of her knowledge made her an invaluable asset and influenced her holistic approach to authentic educational leadership. And I believe this is what endears her to so many and also unnerves others. Additionally, I have witnessed firsthand the positive impact Dr. Jones has on everyone she encounters: students, past and present, faculty, staff members, community members, on campus and off, from San Diego to Northern California and places in between. At conferences, in malls and restaurants, people are expressly excited to run into her, and they all greet her the same, with enthusiasm and respect. Former students never fail to mention how she has impacted them in some way, eager to share they are now in grad school or pursuing a certain career path. Others are interested in what she's doing now and what's coming next. Everyone wants to keep in touch with her. Once I was at a conference in Arrowhead, California, and upon learning where I worked, someone asked if I knew Dr. Jones. I spent the next 10 minutes or so listening to them talking about how much they admired her work and the impact she brought into the shared space at a different conference. While it is clear to me, a person like this would be a great asset to any team, it baffles me that the LASC administration fumbled Dr. Jones so badly. At a time when we desperately need strong leadership and visionary leaders, administrators seem to have chosen ego over excellence. LASC continues to bleed exceptional talent, leaving behind gaping holes which they then refuse to fill or are slow to do so. The forced resignation of Dr. Maisha Jones is just one of the many offenses occurring at Los Angeles Southwest College. It is a tremendous loss to LASC and the LACCD, but mostly to the students of this community who look to our institutions as pathways for a better future. They now have one less champion to guide them. What a loss.
Thank you. Next, we have Dr. Maisha Jones online.
She didn't sign up, but she's on.
Yeah,
Okay.
she was added.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You have 3 minutes. Thank you. Okay, she's joining now. Thank you.
Okay, I hope we didn't start the time because it made me rejoin as a panelist.
We didn't. Go
Thank
ahead.
you so much. Okay. Hard to follow, and I'm full, completely full, and completely thankful and grateful for the words. I won't repeat what was said. Over 20-year career at Los Angeles Southwest College. It is my home, where I have experienced upward social mobility and, by extension, generations, not just in my family, but in my neighborhood, the larger community, and society gets to benefit. Los Angeles Southwest College has been my foundation for success, not a stumbling block, a stepping stone, not to escape, but a place of refuge. I have maintained a high standard of excellence with substantial support from colleagues and mentors, some here in the room, some external to the campus, all with great regard, all up until under the direct supervision of one of my superiors, which culminated in a moment of violence. Violence that I never thought in my professional career I would have to encounter. Violence that created tension, hostility, toxicity, and a very unsafe physical and psychological work environment where I feared retribution. I followed district process to report and then began experiencing more adverse reaction in the form of retaliation. I could give specific examples about how the work has been impacted. And it takes a lot of courage, bravery, and sacrifice to do such because I am the prime of my career. And this could be suicide in terms of my livelihood. I was told by colleagues to be situated in a particular office away from this confrontational leadership approach of what they termed a work husband, abusive marriage. I was also made privy that this particular supervisor said that they thought I was trying to run them. I was intentionally excluded from emails that prevented me from engaging in scheduling, assigning. I was also excluded from actions like cancellations, which, as you heard from a number of students and faculty, there was no due diligence to consult, which resulted in grievances that were actually honored in my case. I also experienced mansplaining, gaslighting, misrepresentation, undermining, thwarting my authority, signing in my place, which would be considered forgery. I would also say, in the case of this particular supervisor, that I have been told, or it's alleged, that there are other power gender dynamics that were reported, and that particular outcome led to him being transferred to this institution. This climate is pervasive. This culture, as I think about the escalation of school shootings, also affects me.
Your time.
I have strong integrity and character. And for my 20 plus years, I hope you give me one more minute. There is a mass exodus at the campus, a quiet quitting of a number of talented employees. The stress, the anxiety, the low morale, the ghost town that is now that campus, the negative impact on student success. I should be a standard, not the exemplar. I'm saying this for Women's History Month. Odessa B. Cox and the other community members fought for more. Their vision did not look like what is now an under-resourced, underperforming, under-enrolled, and under-administrated institution. We deserve the respect. We deserve the dignity.
Thank you. And finally, we have James McKeever.
Let me make this clear. I will not apologize for passionately and aggressively defending our faculty. Maisha is without a job. If I hurt someone's feelings, that's on you. She is without a workplace now because of this. A choice was made for her forcibly. And this is not just us and our faculty. You heard the other bargaining units are having similar problems. Don't act like we haven't come to you all with these HR concerns for years now. And this is why we need this fixed. We are demanding the same respect you're asking of us. Respect is a two-way street. Don't ask us to give it to you if you're unwilling to give it to us. It is our staff, it is our faculty that provide the direct services to our students and keep these institutions going. I've shown administration respect. I've shown your presidents respect. I've shown the trustees respect. But damn if I will not demand it for my faculty.
Thank you. That's all the public comments for matters not on the agenda item.
Can I make a comment? Since these were and this is to you, Chancellor, I think a lot of the board is sitting here these were non-agenda items, and thank you for your closing comments, President McKeever. I don't know the full scope, and I really appreciate all of the public speakers and for speaking so eloquently and from your heart But I don't think the board, since this is a non-agenda item, is fully informed as to what is actually going on. So Chancellor, I'm going to ask you to please, let the board know. And if there was maybe in writing, how you normally do with an update, because I don't think the board knows the full scope of the situation since these are non-agenda items. It hasn't come to us in closed session. And I think we're operating a little bit at a deficit here. And I just wanted to make that comment. And I do want to, and those were for both of the non-agenda items, both the journalism and this item as well. And I just want to thank the public speakers for coming and speaking so eloquently today and for letting the board know. Thank you.
If I can, yes, trustee, we will work with Deputy Chancellor Alva Lopez to give you a one-way memo informing you of some of the items. The journalism, there was a memo sent to the board to informing you of that particular item, but I'm happy to send more information on that particular one as well. Thank you.
So next is item EE2, are there any members of the public signed up to address the board on closed session agenda matters?
Yes, we have the list.
Is Rolando Cuevas here?
Mr. Cuevas?
Don't see him
Okay,
online.
no show.
Okay, with that said, the board will now recess.
Trustee, I'm sorry.
Yes.
We still turn the page. We have some more for the March 15th later.
Sorry, so
No worries.
Sarah Soleimani. These are on the closed session agenda items. Is Sarah here in person? No, right. Chanel Sadler.
There's an iPhone 3 online. I think that's her.
Sorry, so Sarah's online.
Yes, we believe it doesn't have her name, but it's iPhone 3 and we think it's her.
Gotcha.
Hold on. Okay.
Hi.
Yeah, are you Sarah?
Yes, I'm Sarah. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the time. I'm a lifeguard at Pierce College since 2007, and we have like program happening from 4:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then we have two pools. One of our pool, through the health issue, is they shut it down. But we have a small pool, and it's happy. We can like programming it, and they fire us because they say it's like low workload. But the problem is we don't have a pool supervisor. We don't have a dean. No one wants to schedule. We have a classes. We have like non-credit class. We have like extension that they want to like running the classes, but there's no one over there to respond to them. We have high school want to rent it, and they just like, it's 2 years they want to like lay off us, and finally they give us the letter. But it's not fair that they want to shut down the pool to the students and to the community and Encore people that are begging us to have the pool back, and they just lay off us to say it's just low workload. But the issue is not us or the pool. The issue is like no pool supervisor, no dean, and our VP is just like busy and no one like in charge to help us to get the pool back and get our job back. We are like 5 guard, and our pool tech is over there too, and we want to really asking for the help. If you guys can help us to get the Pierce pool back, that's really help for the community and our students. We have a swim team that right now with the budget cuts, they have to rent the pool for them. That for sure they're gonna cancel even the swim team. I was in the swim team. I was in the water polo team for Pierce. So like working there since 2007. I'm gonna be appreciated if you guys can rethink about shutting down the pool and help us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I have Chanel Sadler. Arania Bell, steward.
Good afternoon.
So you're Tracy,
Yeah,
correct?
Tracy
Tracy, okay.
Alexander.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. My name is Tracy Alexander, a custodian at East Los Angeles College location. Board, I've requested to meet with you today Ask for dismissal of the U notice due to 1, rules not being followed, 2, abuse of discretion, 3, action taken is not in accord with the facts. Board, according to the charges, I violated policies, rules, regulations, and procedures. B, was absent without an approval leave. C, failed to submit a formal leave request of absence. 1, I admit in the time frames specific. I admit in the time frame specified, I missed 17 days, not 18 as noted. I followed procedures by calling in prior to my shift, submitted ACRs on my return, and was paid. Failing to submit a formal leave request of absence is my right and an option and should not be a reason for discipline. This situation is not egregious enough to warrant a leave. District policy states absence over 20 days also require a formal leave of absence. On 2 occasions of my absences, I've submitted 2 doctor's notes on my return for absence that were 4 days or less, which management declined to submit with their request for discipline. District procedure suggests that I submit doctor's note after 5 days of absence, while this is procedure. It's in conflict with the attendance policy that is currently being used by the district to take disciplinary action when an employee is absent 5 days or more in 3 months. The attendance policy should be admissible for this reason and other. Lastly, 735C13 states frequent unexcused absence or tardiness. A, management charge only address absence. Management did not follow LACCD policy, rules, regulation, or procedures. 1, by including tardies, inflating the hours of absences. 2, by not providing proper notice to inform employee tardy concern. 3, by declining to submit documentation illustrating a tardy concern. 4, not following the procedure of progressive discipline by not illustrating steady progression of discipline, bringing awareness 2 to 3 months after the concerns. Board of Trustees, I've learned a lot during this process. I'm aware of my attendance, which has improved. I've learned resources available to me to use prior to reaching this point. Thank you for seeing and hearing me today.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would just like to add that, well, my name is Chris Zan, representing SEIU Local 99. So I just want to point out to this board that our members are unfairly being penalized and disciplined based on an invalid attendance policy for using accrued paid sick days. And that's illegal. It's illegal to deny and discipline an employee the right to use their accrued paid sick days. This violates their contract. This violates the district policy and is a violation of the state laws. And if you review the charges, it states that our members are being charged for unexcused absences, but these are not unexcused absences. These are approved excused absences. So we're asking for this board to really look at this, and we're asking for the dismissal of these U notices. And I'm also speaking on number 9 as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So the last person is Irania Bell Stewart. She's no, okay. Then that's all of the rest are written. So now. Sorry. So now the board will recess to closed session in accordance with the Ralph Brown M Act, Governance Code Section 54950, and the Education Code to discuss the matters on the posted closed session agenda pursuant Government Code Section 54954.5. Are there any objections? Hearing none, we will now recess to closed.
So